here who are dedicated to our students, and we know that they deserve that. And so here at our school, we want the best of the best, and they deserve the best of the best.
Here in Natchitoches Parish, we're focusing on our #1 priority this year is student learning, and so we are working with our teachers and all of our students. We're working on goal setting. We are having them focus on setting their own goals for personal growth, both teachers and students. Hopefully is going to lead to student growth for all of our students.
But the other thing is we have beautiful Cane River Lake, we have Front Street, we have the Christmas Festival, we have meat pies, we have so much going on that's positive, and we're here to do the right thing because we truly believe that children come first.
It is important to have a facility that you're proud of. Not only to have a classroom to learn in, but a facility that you can say, I'm happy to be there. Every one of our schools is under construction of some form. I love this community, and I think this is a great place to grow up and live and work.
I'm a product of the Natchitoches Parish school system, so I think you know, the teachers and principals who I learned from did a great job. I really applaud what teachers are doing to make sure our students are reaching those targets that I know have been set for them.
Regardless of where they start, we're going to grow them and improve them in their skills so that when they leave us, they're prepared for a fulfilling life. And whatever role they choose, we're going to prepare them to be able to compete and go after all of the goals they've set forth in their life.
The school district having formed partnerships with the education department, I know that those teachers strive. They find a way to help ensure that those individuals are able to learn.
Come on and live and work in Natchitoches.
Come on and live and work in Natchitoches.
Come live, work, and grow here in Natchitoches Parish School Board.
Come on, live and work in Natchitoches.
I commute about 30 minutes every day because I believe in the mission of Natchitoches Parish. I believe that we are always pushing forward, that we always have a purpose, that we are always in a growth mindset of transitioning forward. If you're the person who wants to be a part of something fabulous, you want to be on the ground floor, you want to make an impact in education, you are the person that needs to be in Natchitoches Parish. Live, work, and teach in Natchitoches.
Lives are waiting to be transformed. The only thing missing is you. We're looking for motivated teachers who are ready to be a positive force in their students' lives. You'll teach in our newly renovated schools that you'll be proud to be a part of. Ready to make your new home along the beautiful Cane River? Ask us about our relocation stipend. Our students deserve the best teachers. They deserve you. Live, work, grow in Natchitoches. We'll see you soon.
There are faculty members that have seen it all. I know they have my back. I know they can assist me in any way possible, and not only just emotional support, but that instructional, constructive feedback that helps me become not only a better teacher, but a better leader. If you're anything like me, you're at a crossroads in your life, but you know that you want to make a difference, don't put it off. Go for it. Come live, learn, teach, and grow in Natchitoches Parish.
Come live and work in Natchitoches.
Hey, come on, live and work in Natchitoches.
Come on and live and work in Natchitoches.
We just welcome everybody who is willing to work with the children in a positive way. So we're looking for people who want to be a part of a winning team. We're looking for those people who are motivated to do what's right and what's best for children. We want to run ahead of the pack. We don't want to do the mediocre thing. So we're working hard to get those people.
The most vital resource that we have is our young people. That's our students, and their education is what's going to take them forward in life. And we just feel it a calling on our lives to be a part of that in the most positive way that we can.
Our students need us. They need that support. We want teachers who are here, who are dedicated to our students, and we know that they deserve that. And so here at our school, we want the best of the best, and they deserve the best of the best.
Here in Natchitoches Parish, we're focusing on our #1 priority this year is student learning. And so we are working with our teachers and all of our students. We're working on goal setting. We are having them focus on setting their own goals for personal growth, both teachers and students. Hopefully is going to lead to student growth for all of our students.
But the other thing is we have beautiful Cane River Lake, we have Front Street, we have the Christmas Festival, we have meat pies, we have so much going on that's positive, and we're here to do the right thing because we truly believe that children come first.
It is important to have a facility that you're proud of. Not only to have a classroom to learn in, but a facility that you can say, I'm happy to be there. Every one of our schools is under construction of some form. I love this community, and I think this is a great place to grow up and live and work.
I'm a product of the Natchitoches Parish school system, so I think the teachers and principals who I learned from did a great job. I really applaud what teachers are doing to make sure our students are reaching those targets that I know have been set for them.
Regardless of where they start, we're going to grow them and improve them in their skills so that when they leave us, they're prepared for a fulfilling life. And whatever role they choose, we're going to prepare them to be able to compete and go after all of the goals they've set forth in their life.
The school district having formed partnerships with the education department, I know that those teachers strive. They find a way to help ensure that those individuals are able to learn.
Come on and live and work in Natchitoches.
Come on and live and work in Natchitoches.
Come live, work, and grow here in Natchitoches Parish School Board.
Come on, live and work in Natchitoches.
I commute about 30 minutes every day because I believe in the mission of Natchitoches Parish. I believe that we are always pushing forward, that we always have a purpose, that we are always in a growth mindset of transitioning forward. If you're the person who wants to be a part of something fabulous, you want to be on the ground floor, you want to make an impact in education, you are the person that needs to be in Natchitoches Parish. Live, work, and teach in Natchitoches.
Good afternoon and welcome to the June 14th committee meeting of the Natchitoches Parish School Board. If there is an agenda item that you would like to speak to, please fill out a form at the back of the room to be recognized. And we'll start with a roll call by Ms. Revels.
Mr. Danzy. Here. There we go. Mr. Danzy. Here. Mr. Matoir.
Here.
Mr. Benefiel.
Here.
Mr. Garner.
Here.
Mr. Harris.
Present.
Mrs. Guidros. Here. Mrs. Broadway.
Here.
Mrs. McGaskey. Ms. Palmer.
Here.
Ms. Phelps.
Here.
And Ms. Harvey. Here. We have a quorum.
Okay, thank you so much. And tonight, first off, happy summer to everybody. It is our summer slower season. But tonight we have Principal Micah Coleman with us from Natchitoches Central High School. And he will be presenting on all the great things going on at Natchitoches Central. I told him to hold it down to about an hour. We didn't have a whole lot of time. So he promised 59 minutes and he will be out of here.
Good evening, board members. I was actually challenged to 5 minutes or less, and challenge accepted, but if you'll allow me just a moment to get this set up. Oops. Excuse me there. Mr. Kozad, I have no idea what I just did, so. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. There we go. It's like me. It takes a minute to warm up, so. Well, I certainly appreciate the invitation to come and speak about Natchitoches Central. As Ms. Phelps alluded, I can talk for hours about Natchitoches Central and certainly all the wonderful things that we have going on over there each and every day. This evening, I tried to put together just a few of the things that we have to spotlight, because it would take literally hours for us to name each and everything. And I hesitated every time I came to one item. I thought, oh gosh, I'm going to forget several others. So I'm sure that I have, but we've actually been enjoying the last week, week and a half. We've been able to go to the event center, and all of our administrators throughout the parish have been training on what success looks like in our schools. And I've actually enjoyed it quite a bit and learned an awful lot. And no matter what, it doesn't matter what I know. It doesn't matter what all of our wonderful teachers at Natchitoches Central knows. In the end, it comes down to what our students know and what they're able to do because of it. And so what you'll see in this little slideshow is evidence of our students succeeding. And our students succeed because of what our teachers do. But I'm very proud of this past school year, because we've had a ton of growth, and we've got a lot of evidence of that growth, some of which you'll see here tonight. We've had growth on the part of our administration, mostly brand new team. We've had evidence of growth in our teachers throughout all of our curriculums, and most importantly, we've had tremendous growth in our students, and we are extremely proud of each and every one of those. Namely, our class of 2022 was an excellent class as far as our models. You see chief culture anytime you step on campus. You're going to see and hear about chief culture, and we were so proud of this class of 2022 because they were excellent role models from start to finish of what we mean by chief culture, and that's all about respect, honor, and the traditions that they were able to lay and leave behind them. And one of the traditions that we hope that they've left behind to be succeeded again by next year's class, this year's class of 2022 was awarded over $1.4 million in academic scholarships to go on to further their education. Some of those would be at technical schools, trade schools, four-year schools, and two-year schools alike. Ms. Phelps, I'm sorry.
No problem. I don't mean to interrupt you.
No, that's quite all right.
But I do mean to interrupt you. That 1.4 million is a conservative figure because I did have plenty of parents tell me, oh, I forgot to fill out the paperwork, so my child is not in that, their fault, but that's a conservative figure, so we're very proud of that.
I would say so as well. We did have some that didn't get their information in on time, and so this number still doesn't reflect all of those, but no matter what, that is huge evidence of our students succeeding and huge evidence of our teachers' efforts paying off, and that's directly going to affect their lives for the positive. That is going to affect our community, and that's one of the things that our students understand each and every day is their effect on our community now and years from now, and they take that very seriously. And this $1.4 million will come back to Natchitoches directly and improve the lives of our citizens and lives, the industry that we're able to attract here. And we're very proud of that class and that number. Moving along, we have seen huge jumps, huge success, huge growth in the area of our ACT. As you guys know, that's one of the areas that Natchitoches Central is graded on, one of the 5 areas at the end of the school year. And we place huge emphasis on the ACT. The ACT has kind of taken on a new life inside of our building on campus at Natchitoches Central. The enthusiasm, the excitement that has built around the ACT from our students is it's really inspiring. We have students coming up to us even after they've taken, if you've ever taken that ACT, I don't know how long it's been, but I mean, it's pretty grueling and you're exhausted, and we have students coming out of that test immediately coming up to us telling us, I'm going to take it again next month. I've already signed up for the next test. And that's not something we've experienced or seen before, but we're really excited about the enthusiasm that we see with the ACT. It's just kind of taken on a whole new life. This year at Natchitoches Central, as you see up on the board, we had over 990 ACT test takers on our campus, and we believe that's a record number. I don't really have statistics to back that up, but it's an awful lot. We ran out of ACT waivers in early March. We're afforded, I really don't even know how many waivers ACT sends to us. That's just the opportunity for our students to come get a waiver from one of our counselors and take the ACT at no cost to them. We ran out of those in March. We petitioned ACT for more. They said they would send us more next school year. So hopefully that means they'll send us more because they are going to good use. You'll see some of the scores of 25 or higher. We have 61 students currently that have already scored a 25 or higher. Some of those are leaving us in our seniors, but a lot of those are still on campus with us as sophomores and juniors. The next number is a particularly big number, 17 of 30 or higher, which is going to put those students into a particular bracket with scholarship opportunities that's not afforded to a large portion of our students in this state. That puts them in the upper echelon, that elite level, and really proud of that because those students are able to, we have a 30 wall coming up at Natchitoches Central. We have 27 or higher that are actually, their names will go up on that wall as well. And it's just another way for us to encourage students, motivate students to reach for that next level. What you don't see up here, and I probably should have included our tracker, those 25s, those 30s, those are numbers that really jump out at you when you're coming through that tracker and you think, whoa, wow, 17 of 30 or higher. But what you don't see are those kids that were at a 15 and a 16, and they have not qualified for tops, even the lowest level yet, but they have reached now 16, 17, 18. They see a light at the end of the tunnel. We have dozens of kids coming up to us in that range who are now inspired to go take the ACT yet again. And they're reaching for that 20, which is going to be a complete game changer. And we have dozens of students. Those are the students that I really get excited about. Those students who typically before they make that 15 or 16, they took that ACT one time because we actually forced them to. Those students are now wanting to go take that ACT yet again. So we're really excited about that. Every ninth grader on our campus has an opportunity to take the plan test, the pre-ACT, and it's a very good indicator of where they are at that particular time. We've had really great success through our WIN period at Natchitoches Central. We actually have ACT labs specifically designed for that particular student's need on the ACT. And that's one of the reasons we're beginning to see a climb in our ACT scores like never before. Every 10th through 12th grader on our campus takes the ACT now online, but on our campus we are working on becoming an ACT testing site even on the weekends. We believe that that's going to provide growth. Anytime you can take the ACT in the environment where you're most comfortable, it promotes a lot more success. So really proud of those numbers as well. Our number of CLEP students, we've had over 20 chiefs who've passed CLEP tests. That means they've taken a test that has granted them college credit. If you've never taken a CLEP test, they're pretty rigorous. That means what I like about this indicator is that our courses are being taught to the rigor that will allow our students to walk into these tests and gain freshman level credit and sometimes above. So that tells us that, one, our students are getting what our teachers are planning for, and our teachers are planning at a rigor that is really pushing our students to be able to be prepared when they walk into those college freshman level classes. So really proud of that number as well. Not only that, we have our LEAP scores in each of our LEAP assessed areas. Really proud. We had 8 in the fall. We had, I think there's only 7 of them pictured up there, but I think we had 8 perfect scores of 850 on their LEAP test in the fall. And we had 2 more in the spring. You'll notice those 2. Well, no, I'm sorry, they're not duplicated. I was going to say those 2 ladies may be some of our fall scores as well. We typically have a perfect score, maybe 2 on campus, but to have 8 in one semester was particularly exciting, especially for those teachers. The 2 teachers pictured to the right of the screen, Ms. Stoltz and Ms. Nelson, have a string of perfect scores going. I can't remember how many semesters they have in a row with perfect scores, but they know, and they're very competitive about it, and we love that. That's one of the attitudes that we want to foster on campus at Natchitoches Central. But this was a huge highlight, whenever your state standardized scores come out and it says you have 8 students that are perfect in that area. That means our students are doing something. That means those teachers are doing something very special in those classrooms, and we're very, very proud of that as well. What you see pictured here, we had our freshmen. This is mostly all freshmen in this class. Our Algebra 1 class, I believe this is Ms. Stoltz's class. Again, they were entered into the 20th annual Louisiana School for Math, Science, and Arts math contest. They hold a math competition each and every year, and this is schools such as Caddo Magnet, Louisiana School for Math and Science, some of your upper echelon in the academic, highly performing academic schools. And our Algebra 1 team not only went toe-to-toe with them, but they beat everybody in the state. They placed first. We were really, really excited when this came out. These kids, I'm going to tell you, they've got some really special kids in this class. Not only academically, but the kids pictured here, I could go through each and every one. they do something to help students on our campus each and every day. It's not that they're just very gifted and smart. They obviously are, but they are also great chief models as well. They help other students along the way. Really proud of these guys. Really big spotlight for us back in the fall. Literary rally. That's our opportunity to go compete in an academic setting against not just schools from our area, from our district, but also in the state as well. We actually had the young man pictured at the top, Mr. Adam Gillette, I believe placed first in Algebra 1 in the state, which is, there's nobody that scored higher than him. He is a very gifted young man, but all of these students here participated in the state competition, which again, 16 participants is quite a bit for us compared to what we've had in the past. Very proud of those young people in that picture as well. I know you guys had an opportunity to get to visit with Colonel Maltz and First Sergeant Selby earlier. We did bring our JROTC and some of their members over, and I didn't understand. I had an opportunity to brag on them at that point, but I wanted to bring this up again because this was my first opportunity to go through a JPA review. Dr. Eloy had an opportunity to come over and visit with us, and it was a very grueling, very detailed review. The gentleman that comes to do our reviews, Mr. Burton, does most of the Southeast. He's been doing it for over 23 years. Of course, you guys already know our JROTC department at Natchitoches Central scored a perfect 200 on their review. In his 23 years, doing this all over the Southeast region, Mr. Burton told me that he had seen maybe 3 perfect scores in all of his years. So I thought this bared mentioning yet again. They're not just good. They're not just good. They are exceptional. And the one thing that you notice anytime you get to come over and watch our JROTC in action, they do have great leadership with Colonel Malt and First Sergeant Selby, but they'll be the first two to tell you everything this group does is student-led, and that's the most important thing. These guys, they give them resources, they get out of their way, and they watch them work. And I was just blown away throughout that whole review process, how incredible our kids are, and I thought they bared mentioning yet again. Those guys are fantastic. So our FFA has had another stellar year. In particular, we had one gentleman who made it all the way to the national ranks, placing 3rd in Indianapolis in extemporaneous speaking. And if you had an opportunity to come to graduation, you had an opportunity to hear Mr. Colton Conley speak as well. Graduation, I think he brought the house down. I think we're going to invite him back next year to do graduation again. Maybe he can be inspiring to the next class as well. But this young man's also run for state office, and he's actually running for national office, for national president. If he does get it, he's going to have to take a gap year between high school and college because that particular job keeps him quite busy. But if you know Colton Conley and you know the training that he has with our FFA leaders on campus at Natchitoches Central, I hope I'm back here sometime this summer telling you he's our new national president. It would not surprise me one bit to see this young man achieve that goal as well. And again, that goes back to Ms. Raschel, Mr. Jordan, Mr. Burrell, and the leadership that they provide through the FFA and the opportunities that our students get because of the things that they're willing to do. And our FFA had another stellar year, as highlighted by Colton Conley here. Our chief yearbook, this was really neat for me. Yearbook is a monumental if you don't know the inner workings, and I only know the surface of it, Miss Erin Spears is our yearbook sponsor, but that's yet another organization. Miss Spears will tell you that yearbook is put together, it's designed, it's organized by our students. It is student-led completely. And our yearbook this year was recognized as one of the yearbook of yearbooks, and this is not only yearbooks at the high school level. This is yearbooks at the collegiate level. And I believe it's Balfour, our Balfour sponsor, called and said, you know, I don't know if you realize, and I probably didn't, she said, I don't know if you realize how good they are. All over the country, in our region, they are recognized as one of the top yearbook productions this year. And I was very proud of that, again, because that's not a teacher. That's not our staff or our faculty putting that together. That's our faculty, our staff, giving our students resources and getting out of their way and watching them work. And that's been recognized on a national level as well. So very proud of those young people as well. This year, if you did not have an opportunity to come to our Black History Month program, that was spearheaded in certain ways by First Sergeant Selby, but again, he will be the first to tell you, outstanding program, one that we're already looking forward to making even better next year. But First Sergeant Selby will tell you that that was a completely student-led program. And if you didn't have an opportunity to see it, we have got some immensely talented students at Natchitoches Central, and they had an opportunity to show off those talents while educating our entire school on some very important topics. And we're just really proud of that program, really proud of the production as a whole and as our students as individuals. And that was a very big spotlight for us early on in the spring, late winter, I guess, if you will. Of course, you know, we call her a diamond in the rough, a hidden gem sometimes, but both of our musical organizations on campus were winners at the LMEA this spring. Our band and our orchestra both performed superbly, both winning awards and recognition. And also wanted to point out, I didn't realize that she was not already in the Hall of Fame, but Ms. Olson is now officially in the Hall of Fame at the LMEA, where she absolutely belongs. She is fantastic. I tell people all the time, we shouldn't have her here in Natchitoches. She is world class, and very, very few orchestras in the country can say that they have an orchestra leader that was traditionally trained at the Berlin Institute. I mean, that's really something. And our students have an opportunity each and every day to learn from these two ladies and you know, really hone their skills and talents when it comes to music. And it's just something that really stands out about Natchitoches Central. If you had an opportunity to be at graduation, you heard these guys play. We had a combined effort between some of our band members and our orchestra, and they were just really, really outstanding. So congratulations to these two ladies. But the two ladies holding the trophies, they're only holding trophies because of a student's performance. So again, it goes directly back to what our students are able to do. We had 7 chiefs, and this we have a couple of them spotlighted here, but we had, between our ladies and our guys this year, we had 7 chiefs from our athletics program to sign to go on to continue, most importantly, their education, but also they're going to get an opportunity to play their sport of choice at the next level. And 7 is a great number. We hope to increase that next year and the years to come, but really proud of these young people here. Not only were they in a position athletically, physically, to go on and play, but they were in a position academically because of their test scores, because of their GPAs, because of the credits that they earned. They put themselves in a position to go on and represent Natchitoches Central and the community of Natchitoches even beyond their high school play. And really proud of these young people. They represent everything great about Natchitoches Central. I'm going to tell you one of my highlights, probably my favorite day of the year. And people can say there wasn't really anything academic tied to this day, but I'm going to tell you I learned more on field day than some really, really, geometry became very important to me. The slide, the water slide was really long, Mr. Wascombe, but the landing area was very short. I did not do my calculations very well. My ankle suffered because of it, and I was able to pass that information on to other faculty members before they climbed all the way up there. But This was probably my highlight because we really worked our students hard, and you can feel the fatigue on campus in the spring when, we've gone through the fall, we've gone through a round of testing. We come back in the spring and we push them hard, and we've got ACT, and then we've got the LEAP coming up right behind it, and we have really taxed them both physically and mentally. And those students who show up each and every day and they give that great effort and they behave the way that we want behavior modeled on campus, they need that opportunity to just blow off steam. We had the absolute best day at Field Day, and we're already looking forward to doing that again. But, our students deserve that. I believe academics is fueled by opportunities for our students to just have fun. And that's one of the things that we hope that one of the traditions that the class of 2022 left behind was the idea that school is supposed to be fun. Yes, we're going to challenge them. Yes, we're going to tax them. We're going to, really work them. But, at the end of the day, you're going to have an opportunity to have fun getting better every single day. And this was probably my highlight, my spotlight. I enjoyed the heck out of it. So, but again, it goes back to what our students are able to do. What's the evidence? We can sit here and tell you all the great things that, all the certifications that our teachers have. And I might add, before July rolls around, over 90% of our faculty at Natchitoches Central will be certified. We do have a goal of 100% certification in the very near future, but very proud of our faculty, very proud of our staff, all the hard work that they put in. But, that hard work doesn't really mean anything unless it transfers directly down to a student. And these are just a very few of the spotlights that we have on our campus. And we invite you guys to come over any day. You come pop in, you can come look in on a class, and you're going to see spotlights in each and every class because our teachers work hard, our students work hard, and there's evidence all over our building of that student success. So we invite you guys to come on over anytime you get ready. Quick update on some of the buildings. We are looking forward, hopefully in the next 2 weeks, maybe to moving into our biggest building project on campus, which is our new field house. And it's getting nearer and nearer each and every day. Soon as they get out of that building, they're going to move all their efforts over into our old field house, gutting that, renovating that. We do have a new kitchen coming up.
Do we have a ribbon cutting for that field house?
We will. Yes, sir. We will.
Everyone will be invited to?
Yes, sir. Instead of showing you pictures, I thought we might just invite all you guys over to come take a tour of it. And it'd probably be a lot easier to show off all the great things that we've got. But we've got some really, really neat improvements. Mr. Shirley and his efforts. If you haven't driven by the high school lately, the view from the highway, I love it. I love driving by. They were cutting grass when I left today. I love driving in the mornings. The grass is glistening. Well, it used to glisten before it got to be 100. But the grounds look really good. I think we've got some signage coming up here very quickly in the next month and a half. And just the physical appearance at the high school is really improved, and we're really proud of that. We appreciate the board, Dr. Eloy, Mr. Wascom, Mr. Shirley, and their efforts and all that. So if you guys have any questions, I'm sorry, Ms. Phelps, I failed horribly. I know, I apologize.
Are there any questions for Principal Coleman?
Just want to make a comment on your FFA program.
Yes, sir.
My brother and I are adopting the FFA because, like our FFA, we know they have to do a whole lot of raising money.
Yes, sir.
But farming is still the backbone of America. It's the largest fund in our United States, besides that of the Defense Department. So we want to make sure that our children understand how important farming is, and especially today where we are going to the grocery store and not being able to get food, so we have to learn how to grow our food. So we're going to be partnering with that program.
That's outstanding to hear, and if you can come watch our ag teachers work, and our kids are very well educated on all the opportunities that come from that industry, not just farming itself, but the number of opportunities here in Natchitoches, in our parish, in our state. And Northwestern has just recently invested into that program, and we plan on filling up that program at Northwestern with very capable students here in the near future. So we're excited about that. Yes, sir.
If you go into forestry right now, you can get a job.
That's right. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Mr. Coleman, before you take off.
Yes, sir. I'm sorry.
Thank you for hosting the retiree luncheon the other day. That was very nice.
Yes, sir. That's our pleasure.
First time we had the opportunity to do that in several years because of COVID, and it was a great opportunity to tour the school also. Thank you.
Yes, sir. That was our pleasure. Thank you.
I saw that there were a few that left Natchitoches Central, resigned or retired. Were we able to fill those?
Yes, yes, ma'am. I think we actually had 6 that did retire this year. And of course, as you know, with great teachers, it's impossible to replace great teachers, but we were able to hire 6 certified teachers in those spots. Every new teacher that we're bringing onto campus is highly qualified and certified. So we're very, very proud about that. Very strong instructors that we have. You know, it's impossible to replace what's walking out the door, but we're very excited about what's coming in.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much. Okay, next on the agenda is the superintendent's report.
Well, Mr. Coleman stole my thunder on Miss Olson, but that's all right. So that was how I was going to start off. But we are going to invite Miss Olson to our first board meeting of the school year in August, and we're going to honor her because that is such a huge accomplishment to be in a Hall of Fame. They don't just do that for anyone. So I don't see my name on any Hall of Fames anywhere. So you got to have a pretty good track record. So I want to start off. I have just a few things. I have gotten a myriad of calls, and Reverend Harris was one of those calls and wanted me to touch base on the CIR school stipends.
Thank you so very much. I'm getting.
No worries. So first off, I want to reiterate that stipend does go out with the payroll tomorrow, but just like every payroll that goes out on the 15th, they post it on the 15th. Depending on your bank, most people won't get it until the 16th. Some will get it on the 15th. It really depends on your bank. Our bank does the same thing for everyone. They issue it out, and then it's determined by the receiving bank. I do also want to go back. That's just a little housekeeping item, but remind everyone of the reasoning behind that. When we put that into ESSER funds, that was an effort to recruit and retain highly qualified instructors. That's how you had to put it into ESSER EGMS. To recruit and retain and it's a differentiated pay structure. Basically what we're saying is those are CR schools that you have to do, we're asking people to do more there. Because of the way the language and because of ESSER and the language with federal programs, that had to only go to fully certified instructors, because to recruit and retain highly qualified instructors, the implication or the inference that you would make is that those people are certified. I want to say that does not mean that we don't think that our folks who are working towards certification did not work very hard, very dedicated, but there are just certain legal structures in place when it comes to federal programs and federal dollars, specifically ESSER dollars, that we have to maintain that. I can tell you the other thing we did, though, that I think kind of bridged the gap is we also wanted this not only to recruit and retain teachers, but we also wanted to use it as an incentive to get certified. So if you became certified at any point during the year, it could have been the last day of the school year on May the 24th, we would still give you the benefit of that full stipend were you to have been a uncertified teacher for 179 days. If you got certification on the 180th, we gave you the full stipend. And that was our hope to bridge that gap somewhat, but I want everyone to understand that this is not something that we were trying to not honor all of our folks, but it's just the rules and laws that dictate the ESSER funds and some of these things that we had to abide by when this was initially done. So I know that probably doesn't explain it all to everyone, but it's just the rules we had to go by, and they're not necessarily Eloy rules or Natchitoches rules or even Louisiana rules. These are federal guidelines.
With that being said,
yes, sir.
I know Ms. Page is here, and I'm looking on personnel and I'm not gonna steal her thunder. Oh, we did, but I haven't seen it at that level before that many.
And I'll tell you,
became certified.
speaking of certification, we're not going to give you any numbers today because I think Mr. Benefield a while back asked me when we would, and we dedicated to y'all as a board that we would come to you with the full certification numbers, I believe, in October. And that's because we don't want to give you a moving target. We could tell you today some random number, and that could change tomorrow. We believe in October we can give you that. Now, I will tell you, things are looking good, and we feel like some of our things are working, but we're not at the finish line yet, and we are very much in the midst of the race. So that's probably as ambiguous as it comes, but I think we're going to be able to offer you some good news in October. Moving on to summer school, I can tell you summer school, I judge things by the number of phone calls I get and the number of phone calls I get from teachers, parents, and then also going out to the schools. I believe wholeheartedly that summer school so far, and this is our third week, second full week, that it has so far been a resounding success. We have around 954, and I'm looking at Ms. Rochelle, 954 students who are coming consistently. I believe on paper we had close to 1,100 who were signed up initially. Obviously some students, for whatever reasons, aren't able to make it, but that's around 16-17% of the entire district in summer school, making up for that learning loss that we've been talking about, I think, for the past 2 years. So a lot of hard work went into this. I think Ms. Rochelle was probably doing a lot of it, and she was juggling her new position and trying to make sure summer school worked. So a lot of hard work went into this. Ms. Pinckney, Mr. Legrand, and that whole team. And so I can take all the credit, but I can't because all I did was sit in the meetings and in awe of everything they were doing. But we also have all of our specialists or our summer school coordinators, rather, who are doing a great job. And we're keeping kids in school. We told them this year, we understand there's behaviors and all those things, but your goal is to keep kids in school and not just kick them out because we want them to get the benefit of this. Also in the news, switching gears a little bit, there was a ruling by LHSAA that became very popular to a lot of people. The ruling, which is now currently being challenged in the courts by some other parishes, that split schools more significantly between select and non-select brackets. We are continuing to be non-select. We were non-select prior to this ruling. We continue to be non-select by virtue of the fact that we do not have high schools that are magnets. We do not have open enrollment for high schools or anything of that nature. Were we to have any of that type of policy in place, we would have become select and we would have been playing with some teams that we might not would have wanted to play with. Switching gears again to something totally not in line with that, associate's degree. On June 30th, we are going to have a landing page where we're going to really promote the associate's degree, which, as you know, that we put it in place this past year. But after going to teacher leader and meeting with some other school districts who have done it in different ways, and what we really feel as though we need to do is really get that message out to people because it's there, but we have to empower parents to know about these things. And so we're going to have a landing page on the website just for that. We're going to push out some social media. We're also going to, I think, put a digital high school planning guide out there. So when a parent says, oh, my kids never bring anything home to me, don't worry, none of them do. Go to the website and you can know everything you need to know to plan your students' high school coursework, diploma, and what is offered to them during that time.
Can we also incorporate that at the junior high orientations?
Yes, sir.
I think that'd be well to prep them to think about it.
So we've actually been talking about, there's a lot of efforts, and I see Ms. Pinckney, and I think about this, and Mr. Stewart, when I think about this, in terms of CTE. Whether it's the associate's degree, we feel, Ms. Pinckney has told me we need to get the junior high level and bombard them with this, so by the time they're a 10th grader and actually doing these things, they know already, I'm getting the associate's degree. Same thing with CTE. When you tell a kid junior year, hey, why not go into industry or career technical education? They may like it, they may not, but if they've already heard that from the 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade. So we are definitely looking at our junior highs and saying, let's not wait till 9th grade. By 9th grade, that's too late.
That's right.
We need to get the message out, and probably in a few years we'll start saying we need to start them at 2nd grade talking about it. But the sooner we can talk about these things, the better. Along with that, so on June 30th, the associate's degree comes out, and I know that was particular to, I think specifically Mr. Harris and Mr. Benefield. Something particular to Ms. Phelps, she has been just badgering me about this online registration, and I actually can empathize with it because I have 3 children that I've had to re-register every year, and it's 15-page packets. So at the latest, early July, and I'm saying early July for a reason because I think if July 1's a Friday and July 4th is the Monday, but early July, parents who already have students in the district will receive an email. So I have 3 students in the district. I'll receive an email. That email will send, I'll click on a link. I'll look at my students' information, which I can tell you none of my personal information has changed. We haven't moved. Phone numbers are the same. I'll just click that I agree with that. Today, Ms. Pinckney trial ran that for her 2 children. It took her no more than 5 minutes, as opposed to that same process was taking us, that would have been about 30, 35 minutes prior to that, depending on the number of kids filling out all that
Not
stuff.
to mention a trip to the school.
Correct.
Right, and in different schools, like one at.
So yeah, potentially it could be a whole half-day affair. Now, I want to mention to you, so in district students who have already been in the district, they will receive an email, and you might ask, what if I don't have a computer, a smartphone, all those things? If you don't have that, then you would go to the school, and they'll have iPads where you can do the same thing with them. But if you have a smartphone, you can do all this. Now, we're not going to assume that everyone has a smartphone, so we're still going to have the 2 weeks before school starts where people can update their information. But if you're new to the district, then what you would do is you would go, you can still go online and do this, but there's going to be some documents you need to upload. That being said, if you have a smartphone, it has a scanner on that, all on that. You can do everything from your house. If there's something you can't provide, then you would still go to the school, but we will have the iPads there. The secretary will walk you through it. It'll still be a quicker process, but not as quick if your information is already in the system because you're a current student. Now, if you, new student, say you're coming from Sabine and you want to get online, as soon as you register, we'll send you the link and you can do it all online. You scan it. It'll all be fine. But that's the only difference is all those documents are already in for current students. A new student coming to us would have to upload those documents. Questions about that piece? Because I know that's kind of taking questions for each one, I think.
Well, I think parents will breathe a sigh of relief everywhere.
Yes.
But isn't there like one form that they may still have to fill out in person, the homeless form?
So there's a few federal forms that, if you remember, they used to go into the whole packet. What we're going to do instead, those forms still have to, they could not be digitized. They still needed to go home with students. But instead of giving you that as part of the packet, the first week of school, students will go home with those. And so instead of getting, again, a 15-page packet, you'll get 1 or 2 pages at the very first week of school. And for most people, it'll be to say, no, click no, sign your name.
Okay. That's perfect. Very exciting news.
Yeah.
Superintendent Eloy, can we post in the Natchitoches Times or the locations of where the parents should go to do this registration? I know it's the office, but there's also be iPads set up. I'm sure there'll be an office type setting or library or something, and go ahead and give them the complete pack or update on where they need to go when they walk on the school campus.
So I think when we roll all this out, I think that would be a press release that would include all that information. And I'm looking at Ms. Pinckney and we're communicating telepathically, so.
So for those that would have some problems with completing it,
Yes, ma'am.
can go to the various schools and they'll have assistance with someone in the office via the secretary.
Yes, ma'am. So, and that'll free up our secretaries too, because the idea is 90% of people will take care of this at home, and then that means the 10% we can give much better service to instead of having all 100% over that 2 weeks, because that first 2 weeks of school is
Hectic.
very. So the last item, and I leave it the last item because I think it is the most consequential item. As you notice when you arrived here, our flag still remains at half-mast. The tragedy that occurred, I believe now 3 weeks ago in Uvalde, Texas, I think shook all of us, and especially those of us who work in education, those of us who have students, children, grandchildren, nieces, nephews, and those of us on the board. It hit very close to home, and it reminded us how fragile I think life can be in general. I take more sacred than anything in doing this job is ensuring the safety of other people's children. I believe it's a sacred responsibility that when people decide to send their students to Natchitoches Central or LP Vaughn or any of our schools or just Natchitoches Parish School System, what they're saying is, I trust you. And that comes with a big responsibility. And so I want to say a few things. We don't want to say everything we're doing because some of these things are strategically not discussed, but some overarching general things to I would hope, put the community at ease about us being pragmatic about this situation. First off, we have looked at, some of our schools have had the same keying system for many, many years. And if a key is out there, a master key, then that could pose security problems. So some of those schools, we have already began rekeying them. We are also, with a few schools, we're starting a pilot program to institute a key pass system, which allows the entire school or the main entrances to be locked down immediately. We are starting that at some schools. We haven't decided exactly where yet because we want to do the pilot and then be able to economically sustain expanding that to the whole district. We have a few schools, 4 or 5 schools, that do not currently have a buzzer system to buzz in parents, visitors, etc. The way that buzzer system works is, the camera dictates if that person should or should not be there. The 4 or 5 schools that do not currently have that buzzer system will have that buzzer system in place before the school year starts. And Mr. Wascom and Mr. Shirley have been, and they are in agreement that that is one of our top priorities before the school year starts. I've also been working with our schools to review our crisis management plans. These are the plans that tell teachers, students, everyone what goes on in if a crisis occurs. We are also, I've reached out to LSU through Ms. Mary Jones in the Sheriff's Department. LSU is providing a free service to have experts review those crisis plans to see if they're up to date with the most modern of strategies and policies when it comes to these things. And this isn't just active shooter. These are things like tornadoes and all those things. So we have compiled that list of crisis plans, and we are waiting to hear from LSU to send those off to have those reviewed and amended where necessary. We have also had the beginning of a few meetings with local law enforcement. And I have to say, the Sheriff's Department and Chief Collins with the City Police have always been very supportive. And tomorrow we will have a meeting to meet with them and really look at how can we make this relationship even more robust? How can we continue to share the responsibility of keeping the children of Natchitoches Parish safe? And I have to hand it to Sheriff Wright and Chief Collins. I don't know if every parish and every city has the opportunity to work with people who are so actively engaged and wanting to do the same thing, but we are definitely blessed here in Natchitoches to have those 2 folks there, and I look forward to continuing those conversations to put into place things that continue to keep our students safe. We also, prior to any of these tragedies happening in January, we had a district-wide training that it was kind of phase 1 of that training. So we do believe we're being pragmatic with that. Actually, our school resource officer in the building right now for the meeting tonight, Captain Tatano, was the one leading that with some other folks from the Sheriff's Department, and I think that was very good information. Everyone in the district received that information, and we're going to continue to follow up on that because ultimately the best safety measure you can have in these scenarios, we believe, is a competent leader who is being pragmatic in what they do and how they protect their school. And we believe we have the principles in place, and we've really emphasized their need on keeping doors locked and making sure that classroom doors are locked and all those things. But then also having a school resource officer that works in conjunction with that leader to ensure the safety of the campus. And we do believe, based on the reviews we're doing, some of the gaps we're plugging, that we believe that Natchitoches Parish is as safe as it can be, and that we are really being pragmatic and looking forward, thinking on how we can protect our students more, looking at some new technologies as well. And I think we're also looking at writing a grant with the DOJ for next school year to invest in some new technologies as well. So it's a big responsibility, but this is the thing that if anything's going to keep you up at night in this job, it should be this. So.
Okay. Are there any questions?
Yes, when we try to have some active shooting drills, I know Captain Tatiana is here, and I know he has it all laid out and everything, but
So actually, not to preview the meeting tomorrow, but one of the things that I have to hand it to Dr. Brumley. When we went to teacher leader, that had occurred only a few days after Uvalde, and he switched the schedule and provided us an expert, actually out of DeSoto Parish Sheriff's Department, who came and spoke to us. One of the things I was going to mention is we do want to do those things, but because of we don't want to traumatize students, we really want to train. We want Sheriff's Department to be able to train in our facilities so they have an awareness of our facilities. And we also want our teachers who are able to participate in that. But there is a little bit of not wanting to traumatize community and students by doing that during school time. So we would want to work with them about doing that either sometime in the summer or on a holiday time or a weekend, to where it benefits both us, but also gives them a place to train their folks if need be. But yes, we do want to do that at some point, just not with students in the building.
I want to be in the building. No.
Well, but there's things we can do lockdown drills with students. We just wouldn't want to do the active shooter piece. Really, the lockdown drill is enough in terms of that, because it's going to be the same anytime you lock down. It's just stay in that room, do not open the door, go to the I think they call it the hard corner. There's all these little terms I'm learning, but all these different things that can be done without all the other theatrics, I guess.
Superintendent Eloy, I suggest that you contact the Northwestern Theater Department for students for this active shooter. I'm sure they'd love to participate in that, and we have used those with our church security team, and it works out really well.
Yes, sir. I will look into that.
And just to go back and reiterate, on tomorrow, the CRI schools, the money will go out.
The payroll is running like it always does on the 15th, but I believe what that ends up being is a lot of people, the majority of people get their actual pay on the 16th, I believe, in practice. Because we put it out there, and then you get that little email, and then you receive it. Sometimes you receive it the day of, sometimes you receive it the day after. It's once we put it out there, it's up to their receiving bank how they do it. I would say at the latest by the 16th.
But we've done our part.
Yes, sir.
That's all I.
Yes, sir.
I'm getting texts to make sure that, and I just want to make sure.
We have done everything we're supposed to do.
Mr. Wilson.
Just spoke to Chad.
Okay.
It's gone.
Okay.
It'll arrive tomorrow or the next day.
Thank
And
you,
that's
Jesus.
for the certified.
Certified teachers, yes, ma'am.
CIR.
At CIR locations.
Incentive pay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay.
$510,000
Okay.
All right. Any other questions about the superintendent's report? Okay. Moving along to old business, item 3A, grants and grant writer updates. Russ Dancy.
I just had a few items under the old business, and about the grants and the grant writers, where we are, and what have we seen, what have we accomplished, and what are we working on?
Okay, the big grants that we put through, I would say it was probably about September and October, were for the broadband. The NTIA just gave us notice like 2-3 days ago that they are not, actually it was mid last week, that we did not receive an award for the broadband. The ECF is still out there, and that was for $4.77 million, and we are hoping to get that. That still looks positive.
And then
we have other grants
FEMA
that are out there. We have now. I wanted to go over. If y'all will go down to the financial reports, 7. Which one is it? It's about the FEMA reporting. Let's see. Oh, it's 6D.
Yeah.
From the what, FEMA?
Under 6D.
6D.
Yeah, it says a FEMA report. What we want to do is our grant administrator has been working with me with FEMA I don't know how to explain how hard it is to work with FEMA. It sometimes feels like they really don't want to find a way to give you any money to help out. However, I will tell you that this list right here is almost $500,000. This is some that we have received or they're committed. FEMA has a policy. If it's $131,000 and more, they do not send it to you. You have to send them invoices and they will reimburse those invoices. So under Lakeview Junior Senior High, you see $261,000. That money will not come to us until after we send them invoices of the repairs we have done. The Province Hall, the Media Center, all these other ones have received.
Mr. Watson, did we not receive information since you posted this on
This
Goldana?
morning, this afternoon,
On Goldana?
On Goldana. FEMA has committed $515,000. $515,000. So with what I signed up for today, we have committed from FEMA $1,011,000. Now, also, I will tell you, Natchez Central, Natchez Junior High, and Marthaville should exceed those three. The reason they haven't gotten those done yet is those are big amounts. Those three schools, that may be as high as another $1 million.
And in terms of, Mr. Danz, I don't know if this was what you're asking for too. I can give you an idea. So that ECF grant is out. We have also been named to the final round of the Rapides Healthcare Grant, which I believe is worth $440,000. The two grants.
I will say that our grant administrator wrote the grant to get to the second round, where we had to apply to be able to submit a grant.
And there's two that we are currently talking about, but one of them I alluded to earlier, which was the DOJ Safe School. I don't know if it's called Safe Schools Grant, but it's a grant specifically in terms of getting some of these technologies we're talking about to, for instance, there is a technology where instead of doing a metal detector, it can detect how your clothes look to know if you're carrying a weapon. So that's a DOJ.
Facial recognition.
And facial recognition as well. That's a DOJ grant that we would like to go. We've had early conversations about maybe partnering with one of the local law enforcement entities to do that. And also that would allow them to have access to all of our cameras by supplying the servers so they could access those at all time. And then the other one, I thought this, Ms. McGaskey might be interested in this one. Because of tutors, not because of what I'm about to say, and you'll get the joke here in a second, but because the other one that was brought to us by Ms. Ramona was a grant to supply foster grandparents. And foster grandparents, they would be paid and they would be able to be in schools. A lot of districts do it. We wanted to do it for this year, but we had already missed the deadline because Ms. Ramona only came on in January. But we are going to apply for that one this year for the next year. And I'm not saying that because you're a grandmother. I just thought you would be interested in that. But those are the two ones that we're looking at right now. But I imagine before Christmas we'll have another couple that we're looking into as well.
The thing about these grants is unlike the federal funds, they're not just loaded into our account. We have to go fishing for them. And I will tell you that if we get a 50% of everything we apply for, that'd be an amazing percentage. You're going to have to apply for 10 to get 3 or 4. And you may not always get what you apply for. You may apply for $500,000, they give you $150,000. It just depends on sometimes how well the grant is written. And but it is overall, it should be a good source of funding, these types of things. I can tell you that Ramona's help, as well as her predecessor's help with FEMA, has been immeasurable. It is a full-time job.
So, Mr. Watson, these figures that you have out here on the side, like for Lakeview and so forth, those are actually dollars that will be coming in?
Those dollars, I can tell you there's several that have already arrived, except for the one for Lakeview that exceeds 131, they are inbound. What happens is FEMA, this is called obligated. It goes to Baton Rouge from the federal government, and then we're on quick pay system, which is not really that quick, and it therefore goes from that to our accounts. And most of the stuff is for work that's already been done, but some of it is clearly stuff once we start fixing the roofs that will secure that obligation. So Goldana was $515,000. There was Section 406 funding in there, which meant we're not only supposed to repair the roof, we're supposed to improve it so it will not be so much damage. It'll have, they want us to secure and do some bracketing, and they've paid us a good deal of money. It's
So
actually, the value of that was actually over $1 million, but they said you should have had better insurance to cover more of it. And I'm like, yes, we know.
Yeah. So reimbursement of, so meaning we're gonna have to pay this up front, or?
No, what happens is that the money that exceeds $131,000, if it's less than $131,000, it's already in our bank or it's already inbound. If it exceeds $131,000, they keep it in Baton Rouge, and we submit the it's called Louisiana Public Assistance. We send the invoices to them, and at that point, as the invoices come in, they give us our money.
Thanks.
And it's all with very specific terms, which I can show you. They're quite lengthy, but they tell you, like in Goldana, they tell you need to fix a roof over room 207. So they'll tell you specifically what they want to see fixed, but then also improved. And we gave them a lot of that list, and they also came on site and observed it themselves. So this is almost right at $2 million. That in a lot of work. Like I say, they said down at LASBO in my training down there, I know FEMA's a 4-letter word, but you got to hang in there with it. And they recommend that you actually not do it internally. They recommend you get a consultant. That it would be financially important that to get a consultant. So next time we do FEMA,
we're not asking for that right now.
We're not asking for that now. We currently have our own internal consultant, but it's on the job learning, and it might be financially more valuable for us to actually have a consultant who actually is familiar with their language, because it is unique language.
Mr. Wascom, how many consultants do we have writing grants right now?
Writing grants? We have one lady who writes grants for us. Her name is Amy Thompson. I know that the lady who's our current administrator, she's also familiar with writing grants.
And so are they paid through the grants that they when we receive money?
No, in some cases, because you haven't been awarded the grant, you have to write the grant to see if you're awarded. I'm looking at the long view as I see 5% of this $2 million is coming into FEMA. 5% of that money will be given to us at the end to pay for our administration of that $2 million. So I'm looking at the long view as an average. We're not going to win every grant we write for, so we are going to pay a grant writer money that we will not always win, and so you might see that as a waste of money. But in the long view, what's 5% of this $2 million? This is plenty of money to pay our current grant administrator's entire salary for a year or better. I have to look at the long view, not grant by grant by grant, because I cannot not pay something, because it's a lot of hours out there to do this grant writing, and there's no guarantee of when.
But when you talk about FEMA, that was an administrator, right? We're not talking about grant writers.
That's correct.
We talking about the difference between the grant writer and the administrator. The administrator helps in securing this FEMA money. Am I right?
In this particular case, yes. We don't have to write a grant to secure the FEMA money.
Right.
We just have to follow their procedures.
Right.
So,
And that was because of the paperwork.
and that is the tremendous amount of paperwork, which is
The
actually
reason
more
we're asking, or I'm asking that question is that we said the grant writers, we were going to pay them out of the grants.
Right.
FEMA's a little different animal. We needed that FEMA rescue.
Right.
And we knew going in, when you explained it to us back in the summer of last year, that there was going to be some particular things with FEMA, but I was talking about the other grants, not so much a FEMA. But that's more of I don't know if it's a grant or not, it's more of a recovery rescue.
Right. I didn't think that was a grant.
Yeah.
I thought that was something we understood, that we were gonna have to pay somebody to help secure this money.
Yeah, going in.
Going in.
Yeah.
As an administrator.
Because when we start talking about grants, I just was curious about when Mr. Danzy put it on the agenda, how many grant writers and how many grants are, I know you're always
So far, I
out
think
there,
we've
but-
written 3 grants. I think Amy Thompson has done all 3. We've so far lost on the NTIA grant. But she stands willing to help in the event that, our current administrator can also write grants and used to do it at NSU, so she can do it, but her time is limited.
Understood.
So the grant writer is paid through the grant.
Okay, so let's figure this out. It's paid through an line item you put in the budget.
Right.
That the grant, if you win the grant, it will reimburse.
Right.
But if you win a fairly substantial grant, the percentage of that money that you receive is almost enough to pay for that grant writer's or grant administrator's entire budgeted monies. So, like for instance, since the grant administrator works with FEMA over the next 2 years, I don't know what's 5% of $2 million. It's going to be 100,000. She only cost us half because we pay half out of ESSER and half out of general. She cost us roughly somewhere between 25 and 30,000 a year.
Reverend Harris, I'm sensitive to what you're asking because I think basically it's always going to be, you don't want to throw bad money after bad money. And so I think I share some of your concerns. Me and Mr. Wascom have had similar conversations because you want to go after this money, but you also want to balance the economics of it, that you're not going after so many of these things, charging all those things, and then come to find out we've run up a bill. So I will say this, I take your question to heart because we have been having those same conversations about just making sure that our direction as a staff is in line with what the board wants us to do and that we're not throwing too much money after possibilities. No, I totally agree with you. And I know me and Mr. Wascom, as early as or as late as yesterday, we're having very similar conversations about making sure that we're not doing what you're basically asking, I believe.
Because that's not what the board.
Right, and the reason for it on the agenda is so that we all know what's going on. That's the reason.
Thank you so very much.
Okay.
Item B, hunting lease update. And I think
Before we start that real quick, could I ask everyone to please silence your cell phones? That's something that I did not ask up front. Someone's getting text messages, but please proceed.
Hunting leases, Joe and I actually have finally found a hunting lease that we like.
Oh, you did?
We do. We are ready to put it out, but then when we met at Clucheville the other day and you said this was coming up, I kind of paused it, but we have it ready to go out. And if we're going to try to send it out here next week if everybody's happy with it, maybe later this week. But I will also tell you there's our farming. We have one of our big acreage.
Right.
That's for farming. We are only receiving 4,200, is that right? 4,200, Chad, a year for our farming? We looked it up with Pat today. I think it's 4,200 a year.
What's the acreage?
It's one of our big acreages. I would like to wonder if this is really the best use of that, or maybe that should go out for rebid.
It need to.
Yeah.
Because I personally think that's about 600. That's about 600 and some odd acres.
And really?
What you say it is 40?
Oh, really? No, you talking about 200 or 300 acres. Like
is that out there? 200-300?
Could go as much as high as. God, no, that really didn't.
And it all depends on what they're planting on it. It could go up to $125 an acre.
That's right.
Lease per acre on that.
Easily.
And it all depends on what they're planting on it. And
So,
I know most of right round with me and most of the farming area, it ain't nothing under
minimum 100.
Nothing under $75. Nothing under that. So that ain't they ain't even giving us a penny an acre almost if it's down there.
Okay, just for housekeeping purposes, we're discussing this and there's no item on the agenda to vote on it. So if we discuss it and forget about it after tonight, it was just a discussion and not an actual vote. So somebody will need to add that to the agenda.
do we need to vote? I mean, I can actually. There's no actual lease to. Since y'all have already given us permission to lease,
he has to
it out.
investigate first.
No, I get that, but I'm saying we have a history of
But it was
speaking
actually
and
whole
forgetting.
business too.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of things. Ms. Phelps, you bring up an interesting point. There's a lot of discovery that we've been discovered in the last year, and this is one of them. And thanks for pulling that up.
Yeah.
I mean, we got timber, we've got agriculture, we've got hunting leases. We've got a number of things that are changing for us, and we need to look at all of them. But you're absolutely right, it needs to be quantified.
And we
on a
just
budget.
have to revisit these sometime because
Well, I think the current 4,200 has been established since at least 2005.
I would
So what
say
action, moving forward though, because we've been talking about the hunting leases for a while, and it's my understanding that we're going to put that
Those
out
are out.
as a competitive bid
Yes.
process. What action by the board, if any, needs to be
It's
taken?
already been given to me.
Okay.
I've had it since, I think, January.
Okay.
It was just, I took a look at the lease and said,
So we're not setting any price. This is all a
no, this is
competitive.
gonna be completely, it's gonna be property by property. And then, it'll be competitive bid. Now, somebody may come in there and bid for all of them. That's their option.
Well, as far as the agricultural land, we're pretty much locked in this year because it's whatever crops are planted.
Now,
Moving
Russ, you
forward.
mentioned, I'm sorry, Billy.
Now, with how long a lease they have on the farming ground? Is it year by year? Because I know it was.
I don't think I think the lease that was in play has expired.
Okay.
And they have just been paying 4,200
I
a year.
think so. I think that lease expired a long time ago, if I'm not mistaken.
We
Because
tracked it
never
back to
voted on it
2005.
After a long, long time.
Because I know with that farming ground, one section down in the Clutcherville area, we had voted, I think it was a 5-year lease. And then they had an option to lease it for, I don't know, maybe 5 years then, but that, I'm pretty sure it's way over with.
Yeah,
by then.
we're.
And Mr. Wascom, what are you proposing in terms of the hunting lease? Was it 3 years or 5 years?
I was hoping for 3. I don't want to have to do this every year.
Yeah.
We do it, and we asked them how much per each, first year, second year, third year, how much they would bid.
When we did the other one out as a trial basis, we did it on 3 years.
We did? Okay, that's good to hear.
But I just think there is a timeline because people are already getting,
No, I think we're behind. We are, but by the time I finally got, Baton Rouge, the attorney, to send us one, then we got it. And then Joe and I had to look it over. I was uncomfortable with several things. Another thing, Russ, that you brought up was about easement to the properties if we lease them. I was gonna put that in the bid specs, that you are responsible to find your own easement to the property if it's somehow blocked.
Is that, Joe, good with that?
Yeah, Joe, is that all right? Joe, we're concerned about easement to the properties that are being leased out for hunting.
Some of it's
I was going to
landlocked.
put in our specs, when I put it out here in the next few days, that they are responsible, the person bidding is responsible for finding an easement to the property. Absolutely. Because if some of them are blocked, by other owners.
One of them in particular is landlocked. Yeah.
Landlocked,
Right,
yeah.
right. That's correct.
So anyhow,
So while we're talking about properties, what about the property somebody's living on?
yeah, it's still there on satellite if you'd like to see it.
Huh?
There's some of that. There's a lot of that. As a matter of fact, we,
Right, and if they stay long, they own that property after so many years. I think in Louisiana it may be 30, but I don't know how long people.
I don't think this trailer home
specific
hasn't been there. This trailer home hasn't been there 30 years. I can tell you that. But we found a situation in Goldana where that very same thing, where we had to go in there and pay somebody to pop a line, and they had put their trailer on the corner of their trailer onto our property. So we just had to tell them, please, move it, because it becomes an issue. What's that?
Communication with these people?
Well, the ones in Goldana, yes.
We take care of that problem.
No,
We've taken care of that
the
problem.
other one.
I have not. No, I have not. That was a whole process where we're going to need to find somebody to help us out with some of this, because we have lots of little pieces of property all over the place. It's the 2 and 3 acre property that we have all over the place that we.
But we can
have
look
to
into
do
that and give you at least some update on it by, I would say, the July meeting. Because that may be one of those things that we would have to get lawyers involved. It may just be a conversation. It may be lawyers, or it may be, I would imagine, it could escalate to, sheriff department type thing. But we can look into that and give you some follow-up for July.
Okay, yeah.
And item C was a farming lease and timber update, and my main.
Well, I did the farming lease portion.
We're just talking about the timber.
So I would like to reconsider, because the farming lease, looking at an aerial of the farm,
Right.
that could also be planted with trees. But we'll see. Laying timber, the Waterwell Road property, this is how interesting lumber is right now. They paid us $25,000, then they paid us $67,000, and then they packed up their stuff and they went to Wynn Parish because the lumber people needed wood that was in Wynn Parish over the wood we are offering on Waterwell Road. I don't know, but that's what I was told.
Is that softwood versus hardwood or
That's
something?
No, well, we have both. We have pine is soft and some of the other types are hard. But anyhow, this is they prefer some of this timber that out of Wynn Parish over the timber that we have on Waterwell Road. So they literally packed up and went over there, and they're going to resume it sometime in September. We'll get the other half of our money. We'll probably have about another $60,000 coming. I said, well, isn't it normal for y'all just come in and just clear it, just to do it? And they went, yes. But I said, so what's going on? They just said they called up the timber company. They didn't want any more of our timber. They wanted some other variety or quality of timber.
Could be size too.
It could be size of it, yeah, it could be size. Now, this is our last thinning of the Waterwell Road property. After this, we clear cut it in 10 years. Now, we have other properties that are coming up for that, for timbering and stuff in the future, but I don't know what the schedule is right now.
Mr. Watson, out of curiosity, how many acres do you think the school system owns parish-wide? I know you don't know what property is that.
Many thousands.
It's a lot.
It's many
At least
thousands.
1/16 of the
We
entire
own
parish.
7 large tracts of land.
So by not leasing this over the years and all, we've lost a lot of revenue off of some of this stuff, huh?
I would say so, yes.
Yeah, we need to get that.
I just need procedures in place to where it's just, we can auto-renew it.
Mr. Wascom, who, and this was probably selected before I got back on the board, but who is managing our timber right now?
Joe Cooper. I just got off the phone with him today. That's what he was explaining to me about them packing up and moving to Wynn Parish.
And that is something common, especially due to weather and also based on the straightness and grain of the wood too. If they're cutting lumber versus plywood, that does happen.
Yeah, he did say something about grain.
That's it.
I
That's
didn't know
exactly what it
meant.
is.
So
Yeah, we have plantation pine, and they're probably looking for some older timber for lumber, but that's neither here nor there. But when they purchased the tract, is there wording in the tract contract how long they have before they need to harvest it?
Most of the time there is.
Most of the time there is. The assumption is they're going to get in there and get out, and only weather delays. I'll have to read into that. Barely based on their actions, I would say otherwise.
Well, because of the new forestry management practices, they don't try to leave a footprint on the property, and so weather dictates a lot of that. But this is an economic move, so we don't want to get into the rainy season and they can't harvest the timber because that pushes back the replant. But this is a thinning, right?
This is a thinning, not a
Okay, so
replant,
that won't be a
so it's not
replant.
going to injure that, right?
What fund is the profits from the farm and lease and timber? What fund does it go?
Straight to general funds?
Fund?
Yes,
That's what I
ma'am.
thought. I just wanted to be sure.
We received another $167,000 check, which we received approximately that from the Louisiana Department of Forestry. We get that yearly. That just came in. I don't know the justification for that.
That
but
used to go to Provençal.
is that right?
Yes.
Is that coming out of Kisatchie?
That's exactly right.
Well, the parish gets half and we get half.
So you want us to give that to you?
Sure do. We need it.
Need it, yeah, need it.
Checks in the mail.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Watson.
Okay, you're welcome.
Okay.
Oh, is that it? Okay,
Yes.
moving on.
Okay, moving along, I do want to stop at the consent agenda just for a second. We have approval of minutes for last month. And Ms. Kanika, would this be a good time to go ahead and tell everybody that you're going to be updating our voting when we do vote Thursday night live? Did you decide to go ahead and do that? Fix everything in real time? Where? Okay.
Just for clarification purposes, our last meeting kind of was a train wreck with a lot of suspending rules and adding motions. Well, when we do that, going forward, I'm going to have to ask for a pause so that I can go in and actually add that to the agenda, the suspension of the rules, and then the adding of whatever agenda item it is. So during those times when we do that, I'll ask for a few moments just to do that, then I'll have to add it and then refresh my page so that the voting will be done live, as opposed to me having to go back in and redo the agenda after the meeting to put those votes in, if that makes sense.
It does. So when we vote on Thursday, there may be a delay, but she is updating our system and updating board docs, and so everything is current.
Yes.
When we walk out of here,
As long
basically.
as we don't have a case where we have to suspend the rules and add to the agenda, everything is fine. It's all live. I do it as you're taking the votes, as you're making your votes, it's done that way.
Okay.
The only time we'll have to take a pause and me add to the agenda if there is something that's added that's not on the agenda when the meeting begins. That's the only time I'll need a pause, but otherwise, it's always been live.
Okay, thank you so much.
Right, Mr. Phelps, may I ask board's indulgence for one thing regarding that last meeting? It was voted on that Cloutierville would be demoed except for the gym and 3 red buildings. We then since had 5 board members go down there and look at it. The gym floor is in tough condition. I need guidance. I have the contract. I'm ready to execute the contract with Dr. Eloy's signature and send it to the company. They are not going to give us a break, but they're not going to charge us any more. So we can demo the whole thing for the same price it takes to save the gym and the 3 red buildings. I know this is a bit of an interesting, I need guidance as to what to do. Right now, my guidance is, and what I was going to tell them, was to do everything except for the gym and the 3 red buildings. That's currently the guidance from the last board meeting. But there seemed to have been, while we were actually at the Cloutierville the other day examining the building, there seemed to be some different thoughts. So I'm asking the board, do I still just proceed with what we decided on last time? Because in the event that the gym isn't as bad a condition, I'm going to have to pay more money to finish tearing it down in the 3 red buildings. If
Any
there,
thoughts from the
gym-
board?
I was talking to Mr. Wascom, the gym floor, to redo that floor, I think on one of the other buildings was $120,000. So that floor is soft. I mean, we saw that.
Yeah,
I just hate, you know, because it's gonna cost us the same amount of money, and if nothing happens to it, then it's gonna cost us that much more money.
And then that's what we was talking about too, if, I think me and Mr. Benefield, if we leave the building, either we're gonna sell it, or it's gonna stay there, and then we're gonna have to come back later on and tear it down. That was the biggest discussion we had with that, and I really
we're not
don't know.
sure about what liability we'll have at that point.
Yeah,
So, you know, my thoughts are that it should be totally abolished.
So, I mean, and I'm just offering a thought on this, because actually, after what Ms. Kanika said, we would like to avoid suspending rules and adding agenda items, but you would have today and tomorrow for any board member to, if they need to put an agenda item addressing Mr. Wascom's concern, they could put that for the Thursday meeting. And, or, alternative to that, we could just assume that if nothing arrives on that,
I'm proceeding
then
as
it
it
stays the
goes.
same.
My current orders are to leave the gym and the 3 red buildings.
I think we should vote on, after looking at that, since we've looked at the building and see what's gonna be there, if we should not have a possible abolish to demolish the whole building, all the buildings.
What about the 3 red metal buildings? Will, let them
They
go?
in pretty bad shape, and they, you know.
I agree.
Yeah, because they didn't
all
cut the
just
inside
collapsed.
down, and actually
So-
was like rusting down at the bottom.
I agree.
Down there where the, you know, water would be coming up in it, and,
Yeah, we spent a
Yeah.
lot of time looking, especially in
And
those areas.
That way, then you have 13 acres of valuable land.
yeah.
But, I just don't see anybody being able to put that kind of money in
That's the big problem.
Well, in addition to that, we were talking about donating it to somebody, but we still don't have an organization to donate it to, even when we get through saving the gym. So it's a sad situation.
Anyway, I would like to see it added to the agenda next, for Thursday night.
Just to demolish the whole thing.
I'll just need clarification
With
on
the
the wording
resolution.
so that it's
It's a resolution.
done
You have to,
correctly.
we have to
So,
develop a resolution, right?
If you will send that to me before.
We'll work on it tomorrow morning, Ms. Kennedy.
Before 4:30 tomorrow.
Before lunch.
So let's make it clear that the resolution will state to demolish the whole building, everything.
Whole site.
Okay, thank you very
Thank
much.
Mr. President.
Thank you. So informational reports, 6A, Ms. Washington, transportation.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
Well, as you know, summer school started, and about the second week, well, the first full week, things kind of leveled off. We had a lot of calls from parents. Our biggest thing was parents wanted door-to-door service, and summer school was just stops. So, but like with today, everything has been running smooth. We get a call every now and then about, asking a question about the stops, but a lot of our calls now are about the next school year. So summer school is going very well. Right now, we're just doing a lot of recruiting, trying to get drivers in. As of right now, we have 4 people training to get their CDL, so that'll be 4 more people added to our routing system, so that'll help improve transportation altogether. But our biggest thing right now is recruiting, just bringing people in, to help us with the busing.
As far as you know right now, you've had no fuel problems
No.
obtaining fuel?
No, as we speak, knock on wood,
Yeah.
as of right now, no, we don't have any issues right now. Any other questions,
How
ma'am?
many drivers are you having to replace at this time?
As of right now, we have 5, and 3 of them were medical reasons for not coming back, and other ones were just retiring. Age-wise, so it wasn't anything as far as the company or the job itself. It was, just different reasons on that.
So you're saying nothing to do with paid, they just, other reasons?
If it is, they didn't say it was
Okay.
paid. The reasons that were given, like I said, was medical, and then we're just retiring, age purposes.
Okay, any other questions for Ms. Washington?
Mrs. Washington, have you thought about going through the NSU Employment Agency? They have students.
Yes,
And,
actually.
they may like to do that early and late.
Yeah, I was in contact with a lady over there, and gave them a flyer, and we actually came over there because they have a job board, and so we did, connect on that part of it. So yeah, we have reached out there, and we're just trying to find different ways to put it out there to let everybody know that we are hiring, and we are doing training if you don't have any, so we are doing in-house training.
So what's the minimum age of a driver?
21.
Oh.
21. 19 monitors, but drivers are 21, with a good driving record, of course. But if you have no experience at all, we do bring you in and we train you, and before we even, we want to make sure you have everything you need before you even get on the road.
So are you, they're receiving a Class B?
Yes, Class B. Mhm.
Do we have any buses that's down?
No, well, we had one bus that was down. It was just waiting on a part, but the parts actually have came in as of this week, so that bus is getting up. But as of right now, our biggest thing is just PM, and I'm getting ready for the next school year, the ones that are not being used for summer school.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Washington.
Okay, thank you.
6B, budget update, Mr. Wasco.
Well, this is, the budget is about where it should be. It's, we're what, $6 million in the general budget ahead. Don't fool yourself, that's going to go down. But that's still significantly ahead of where we were this time last year. I think this time last year, as you can see, we were only we were actually just $5 million ahead, so we're at $2 additional million ahead. One thing that's interesting to look at is you will see the salaries are actually fairly close, or actually slightly less than where they were at this time. I think we're accomplishing more with less payroll. So overall, I think everything looks really good with the general. It is not over until the June final report, though.
Mr. Wascom, how are these fuel prices going to affect us?
It's going to affect us definitely because we pay for the fuel.
It's $1.50 roughly for gas, and so a little more for diesel. Go figure that. How many buses? How many routes? How many days?
I think we're going to have to review that with the ECHO as to how much they think the fuel is. It'll have to be a part of next year's budget.
I just thought maybe you had already crunched some numbers.
No, I haven't yet crunched the numbers for next year. I'm trying to wrap up. We're doing year-end close here. I actually would like to Thursday present y'all a budget update, to update the budget a little bit. It's just a picky-unish movements of money. That is probably going to end up being one of them, is the transportation cost and fuel.
I think it probably won't be as
Yeah, it won't be
picky.
picky-ish, but it's going to be, all right.
I think our
But
economic situation.
I'm just trying to keep the 5% variance that I'm required to do with the budget. That may actually be more than 5%.
More like about 28%. About 28% probably.
Yeah. Child nutrition, I'm happy about child nutrition. We're about, 300, 1,000 above. We still have May to report, and we have June to report. I want to keep this as high in the positive as I can. It's very important that this number stay up there, because it gets very. Remember that generally we don't have a June and feeding children in June. This will help, because we'll only have 1 month off, because that 1 month off, we still have payroll going on. Right. And it'll all be charged off to this. So this is going to be a little nerve-wracking coming to the end, but it depends on the May billing. And it should already be out. But okay, now let's go down to Title I and ESSER. Title I revenue, and the difference between the Title I revenue and expenses, those two numbers should be exactly the same. This has to do with the difference between those two numbers has not arrived. It's been submitted to the federal government. We just haven't been reimbursed. The same way with ESSER 2. ESSER 2 is showing revenue of $947,000, but expenses of $2,356,000. Once again, the difference between those two numbers has been submitted. This is mostly the, let's see, did we pay COVID in April? We did. This is mostly the COVID money. The difference between these two numbers, and so they haven't paid us as of the end of April. They have not paid us for this month's worth of reimbursements. But at the end of the year, June 30, all the both revenues and expenses in all these Title I and ESSER will always be equal. Because otherwise, the general budget has to come to the rescue. And in ESSER 3, it's pretty close to equal as it is. So I'm in good. I feel good about this. I will also tell you that we are posting things as a receivable. Hopefully this is better, but even still with that, we don't see the numbers having arrived. We did have a delay in submitting to the federal government some of our money because we were waiting on a pending update, and you can't do submissions while you're pending an update. Anyhow, that's part of the reason why some of these numbers are behind. But overall, I feel that we're in good shape in these areas. So I'm actually quite proud of the $6 million revenue being higher. You will see that from this same time last year, our revenue is up $3 million. So any other questions?
Mr. Wascom,
Yes, sir.
Our new accounting oversight group will complete the audit when? as opposed to the other group that was 10
Well, we
months
just
out?
had our January report. She likes to do it end of December. That's when she was wanting to do it, but there was a problem with ESSER funds and how they were managed, and the federal government had not clarified that. They did clarify it, and she gave us our January. She's hoping to have the June 30 ready for December 31st.
That would be a much better improvement.
Absolutely. That was actually kind of an insistence I had, and
We
as to
were
who I collect.
11 months behind in the other.
Yeah, the last one was March 31st, or our May board meeting this time last year for the previous year. It was it's too far behind. You can't make adjustments if your reports come in that late.
Okay, any more questions before the tax report? Okay, sales tax update, Mr. Wasco?
Once again, this is always fun. We just need to kind of go all the way down to the bottom. And, okay, so in spite of what is being told to us publicly, I want to tell you my personal opinion about sales taxes. Sales taxes are 3% growth this year, this month, compared to this time last month. That's probably where they're going to stay for a while. I'm not budgeting in next year's budget any growth in sales tax. Let me see here. Let's see. I'll just follow y'all here. Keep going on down. Keep going. Keep going. Right. Nope, keep going. Right there. That's the important page to follow. It says 3.08% growth. Based on the oil people are packing up, moving out, and different other things, and the way we get some of our sales taxes. The 3.08. So I will not be budgeting a growth. We should be able to sustain this, I think, for one more month to close out the month of June. But I do believe that the 3.08% growth is going to be. Now remember, 3.8% growth is over an exceptional year last year. Right. So it's hard to beat when you do these exceptional years the previous year. But I'm happy with 3.08. I was wondering when it was going to finally start slowing down. We are at that point. But it's still a what is it? If you go all the way down, 2 more slides here. It's still a $2.826 million increase over last year in sales tax collections. So now remember that comment I said about how we're $3 million over in revenues? That's over last year. That's where most of it's from. So. Okay.
Motor vehicle sales really.
Did they tank out?
Yeah.
They're usually all over the place.
Okay, item D, FEMA reimbursements. I feel like
we covered that.
Right. Okay, child nutrition report. Ms. Hicks is not with us tonight, but she did send her report. And if you click on the attachment, you will see her information.
This is good news that I had not read this yet, actually, but her May report of $317,000 in submitted, that is very good news. So we should have a good report next month, and then we're going to also have a good report for June. So I think we're going to definitely end in the positive with food services.
That is great news.
Yes, because last year we were behind because of all the billing stuff going on. The USDA actually gave us a bonus money of $256,000 to catch it close up, but we're still a little bit in the red last year. This year, though, it looks like on our own we're going to be in the positive.
I feel like we've been behind ever since I've been on the board until this year. Like
Maybe.
This has been a really good year.
Well, that's not normal. I mean, it's not unusual to be behind.
That's correct. And also, y'all have to understand that this is also facing down the increase in prices of the food.
Right.
The thing I thought we were going to be in trouble with, I guess I never shared that with the board, but I was nervous, as I am with my restaurant business, that the food prices are going to overtake your ability to offer a good product. And I was concerned that the food prices were going to raise and we weren't going to get enough billing to cover, and the general fund would have to come to the rescue. That does not appear to be the case at this time.
Okay, item 6F, personnel report, Ms. Page.
Russ, not to steal anybody's thunder, did you say we were at what percent?
So right now, we haven't, and I have to take this moment to really say amazing things about our technology department. Mr. Kozad and Mr. Nick and all those guys over there, we told them we needed this personnel management system, which to get the same thing from a company out there would have cost around, I think, $50,000. And we just told them the parameters of what we needed, and they were able to create it in-house for free.
Wow.
And so if you ever want to see it, I love it because we helped kind of brainchild it, although they created it, but it probably isn't super interesting deal. But it tells us live updates of transfers, certification, all that stuff. And as of today, but again, this is a moving target, we're at 86% certified, but we do anticipate that number to go up because, for instance, I know 8 of those positions right now should be certified that are uncertified because they're shifting. So that alone will probably get it up to 88, 89%. So it's trending upwards. I think when Mr. Benefield first started bringing this up, I think we were at 120, I think is the number you said. 104. 104. I'm sorry, I misspoke. But I think right now, as of today, at this very moment, it's 47.
Okay, so can I please?
Yes.
No, because I want you to do that so I can say, this new program is amazing, but because it's new, we're learning, we're making mistakes, and not that they've made mistakes, we're making mistakes. Some things are just kind of missed. So I did it old school. That's what I've been doing tonight, and the numbers actually show that we are now down to 35 non-certified.
Wow.
Yes, absolutely, because I know that some of the people are waiting on a TAP. Some people have gotten certified, and I know which applications have been submitted, and it's actually better than we thought, and we were expecting much better results. The longer we do. That is.
Yeah.
Oh.
I would like to say how important this program is to managing our payroll and everything financially. This is an important step to manage our payroll, to know if we're overstaffed and understaffed and everywhere, because we have to pay to cover the difference, and it really is going to help us in the future.
Principals will often say they never had an idea of how many teachers they had, and that sounds a little crazy, but because it changes year to year. So what this tool shows them is, just to throw out a number, you have 20 teachers. And so it's not 21, it's not 19, and in some cases it's not 25, it's 20. And so the only way you can get another spot is if someone leaves. And that sounds very obvious, but this is a live tracker, so it's not something just kind of out there that's ambiguous and you don't understand it. And, well, I thought I had 20, but no, I have 20. You can see it in real time. And so it's really empowering the principals to take a little more ownership of their staffing and know where it's at and know their certification of their folks 24/7. So can't say enough about Mike and his team. I think specifically Mike would probably say that Nick was the lead with this, and it's amazing what he can do with Excel spreadsheets and a little bit of coding. So.
So like to throw in Ms. Winder, our certification coach.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God, she's like a mother. She talks to them, she meets with them, she sets them up on dates with resource people and just provides everything, then she follows up.
And when I
with them.
updated my certification, I only had to redo the form 4 times.
Yeah, I was not going to share that, but that is quite common. It is. The form changes. Sometimes they put their birthday where they should put their social, not him, but some people do that. Sometimes they just give the wrong information, and it may take 4 attempts, but I would just like to say there's not a day or a moment in the day that she's not working, getting that stuff together and trying to make sure it's right and resubmit it and all of that. And so the people who have been working for us for years, most of them are now on track. They're well on the way to becoming certified. Do we have any questions?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, maintenance report, Ryan Shirley.
Good afternoon. How are y'all?
Good.
This last month, we've went through some changes. We've had some new fencing in the new parking lot we opened up at the bus barn. Phase 2 should be starting July the 1st, where we're repairing the actual bus barn parking lot. I had the opportunity to meet with Reverend Harris and Mr. Eugene about some assessments on the boys and girls dressing rooms at Lakeview, and actually done an assessment of every school over the last few months, and I'm hoping to have that information for y'all to share with you in July of my findings. We run across an issue at Natchitoches Central where we had a sinkhole in the parking lot where we had to bust it out and add some rock and fill it back in, tie in a drain that has for years been leaking that wasn't tied into the actual catch basin. We've been doing a lot out at Marthaville. We're actually redoing the floor in the library as we speak. It had some issues, some structural issues, so it's been a chore for those guys. It was pretty bad. We met with some contractors on the baseball field upgrade for as lighting and actual fencing and different things.
That work has started.
And that, yes, and you're correct. That work has started. In my area, we actually have promoted one of our current employees to our HVAC lead position. We've actually narrowed down to 2 different classes that we're going to try to get this individual to complete to help us out. It's more of a commercial refrigeration class than just a regular HVAC position. Residential air and commercial refrigeration is 2 totally different demons there, so we're trying to get her honed in on what she's got coming. And then again, I have done a parish-wide assessment of every school, safety risk. Most of it is been dealing with, this actually happened before the Uvalde incident, where I went around and monitored doors and seen doors propped open and doors that didn't latch correctly. And I have a whole list of hardware and doors around the parish that we need to take into consideration. So I'm hoping to have all that information finalized for y'all in the next meeting. Any questions?
I wanted to ask about the daycare, Old Head Start. I was concerned about it being mowed again. It's looking pretty bad.
We can have that taken care of.
And on the
We sure
back
can.
there, where the gate is at the back of the building,
Mhm.
there's a fence across there. There's a concerned citizen wanted me to ride with them to look at the place. At
Okay.
the back there's a fence up, but it doesn't go all the way across. So people are able to go in through the sides of the fence and enter into the building.
Okay, we will take a look at that. I will make a ride by there tomorrow.
Was it ever secured?
It was.
Yes.
I'd like to speak to that. That fence was actually up and secured and high. Somebody took some chains, put it to the bumper, and drove off and ripped it back so they could have access.
Yeah, they pulled it down.
It's not like we don't try, but it is happening because it's just, they want in.
When we gonna tear that building down, then we'd solve all the problems if we just go ahead and tear it down.
Yeah, because I heard they had a shootout in that building.
Really? Have not, that we called the police, that has not been verified.
Yeah.
So what we had looked at, we wanted to get through, and not to, we wanted to get through the Clucheville thing, which obviously was, that's a big process, because we had budgeted for the Clucheville tear down for this fiscal year, and then look at next fiscal year budget to tackle that project if the board wanted to go through that again. So.
Well, will we go through the same process with that one? Because somebody came to me, they are wanting the building and everything.
I think we've learned a lot through Clucheville. And so I think we'll be better prepared, but we need to, every step of that way, we need to be with Mr. Geis and Mr. Stamey, making sure that whatever we do, we learn from this previous situation, I think.
We can't just hand any of our property to public. You can't just say here. It's not possible.
And I think all the
We giving that trailer to them people.
trailer.
The one on
But
our
then
land.
even with that building, what we learned with the Clucheville area, we can't give a building away with asbestos, so you're gonna have to tear it down. So we just need to go ahead and start budgeting it to demolish the building.
Or abate it first.
Yeah.
and then try to give it away. And now
Well,
that's
you know,
not a,
if we're going to abate it and give it away, we best to tear it down and sell the property,
That's
because
not a-
you're going to
that's
wind
not a
up
wide-
with
yeah.
spending more than what the building worth. And,
Well, and I
it'd be
think
cheaper to tear it down.
I think, and Ms. Dorothy's been saying this for a long time, but that building, I hate that it's in the condition it is, but it is a blight on that neighborhood, and it's become a location for things to go down.
It's definitely a blank, but as Ms. Palmer stated, there's some people that are interested in it, so I guess we, just like we did with Cloutierville, give them an opportunity to come and present their proposal before we make the decision to tear it down. That's only fair.
But the proposal, no matter what they propose, the lawyers told us with Cloutierville, we can't give a building away with asbestos till you abate it, so. And I don't think we need to sit there and and abate that building and spend all that money and then give it to somebody. Cause nobody gonna give us the money that we gonna cost to, get the asbestos out of that building. Martin Luther King.
Martin Luther King.
The former Head Start.
Head Start building.
We'll talk about it till it's gone.
we actually had groups 2 years ago. We had two groups 2 years ago that were interested in the building, and we went through that process. And, it just stalled out. Financially, they couldn't get there.
I just don't want us to give a building to a group of people who are not financially capable of taking it to a point of success. Because if not, it becomes a blight that none of us can do anything about.
But I don't even think it's that anymore, Mr. Walsham. I think at this point, once we've heard so much from Mr. Geis about I defer to what Mr. Matuire was saying about the asbestos, and so are we going to get rid of the asbestos and then still have some liability at some point? And I just hope we learn through that process with Cloutierville. That's my only suggestion.
Well, I think the only fair thing to do is to, the people that are interested and they come before us, just explain to us, to them what the liabilities are for us as a board, will be in our best interest if they don't have the financial, resources to, when they submit their proposal. Because I know we're looking at something with a 3-year time frame or less. So I'm just putting it out there because people are asking about it. So.
Right.
That's it. That's my concern.
Okay, any other questions?
Before you step down, Mr. Shirley, we had some amazing success with the pain lawn service at different schools. Have they completed the initial task list that they were assigned, and are they still working?
They actually have, but he actually brought me some proposals. I want to say last Thursday that I needed to get with Leon. We have established about 9 or 10 trees on different properties that are dead that have to be removed, but we're still working on that magnet. That magnet's going to take us a while. It's a jungle. So it looks a lot better, but there's still work we've got to be done over there. We got trees to grind or stumps, to grind, and some tree removal that'll be done on the back fence. But yes, we're getting there. But keeping up with the mowing right now is kicking his butt with these little afternoon showers and all that stuff, trying to keep up and stay on track.
Thank
No
you.
more bees though, right? No more
Not over there.
bees.
None over there. No. Yeah. I don't want nothing else to do with that.
Fairview, there were some cameras that may be.
Anthony LaCour actually visited there, I want to say Tuesday. And everything was up and going, as far as I'm understanding from him, on Tuesday afternoon when he left. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, item 6H. We are going to have a technology update for Mr. Kozad. Whenever we first issued devices to children, we had allotted a certain percentage for loss, breakage, stolen items. And he's just going to give us an update on collections, how that went, how that's going. And he has a beautiful PowerPoint.
Mr. Kozad, I'm assuming you'll be mentioning your finances that you're getting towards, okay.
Absolutely.
Goes without saying, I'm sure.
Real quick, let me change out the batteries on this thing because it's screaming at me back there.
Okay, so did you use Canva to make that presentation? Or did you use PowerPoint?
Something you're gonna have to learn about me as a manager. Every time I need something to work right and look good, I go, hey, Nick. In all honesty, Nick is 100% responsible for the success of the personnel management system. It wouldn't have happened without him, and, well, it wouldn't have worked without him. Let's say that.
Do you need to say it again when the microphone comes on so he can hear you?
Turn it on for me.
All right. Just to reiterate what I said when the microphone was off, Dr. Elo is bragging on me and my team when it comes to the personnel management system that they've implemented, or that we've implemented. But it's all really the brainchild of one guy, Nick Botteron, who's our lead developer, G Suite administrator, and not enough credit goes out to him. He's the silent hero behind the scenes, so everyone needs to know that we have a huge resource in him, and I will fight tooth and nail to ensure that no one tries to steal him from our district because he's extremely valuable. All right. He fixes Mr. Boscom's budget all the time. Every time he deletes a cell and boom, it all disappears, he gets it for him. All right, so this is a little bit of a breakdown here of what we're looking at by damaged devices. These are actually the number of physical devices that have been reported over the last school year. The way the system we set up to report these devices, it goes by 21 and 22. We ran it by the date though, so this basically reflects the number of devices that were reported broken at each site in the last school year up until the present. So you can see that obviously one like NCHS has a lot higher number of devices broken than one like E&E. It just has to do with the number of devices. So we get into this figure down here, the overall breakage. We had a total of 335 devices broken over the last school year out of 6,812 that were assigned to students. I realize that number is higher than enrollment, and sometimes it has to do with a student will leave one site and go to another site, and then they're issued another device. So we count it up. We try to do it the best we can. We base a lot of our numbers based on enrollment numbers, but we try to go by the number of devices that we've handed to a student versus the number that get reported. And what we've seen is overall for our district for the last school year, we had a 5% breakage rate, which is half of what we budgeted for.
That's great.
So here's a breakdown of individual breakage rates by school. You can see we have a couple of bad children, but it's most likely due to maybe devices that weren't reported last year that were stuck in a closet somewhere and then were found. So we might have holdovers from a previous year that then got reported into the system that might contribute to the 16% at, say, Goldana, or the 14% at Lakeview. And likewise, we have very low percentages at LP Vaughn, and it could be that because those devices aren't really walked around with because of the age of the students, there might be devices that are sitting in a classroom somewhere that no one has reported yet. So I can't say for certainty that these numbers are 100% accurate in the God's truth of how many devices are out there broken, but I can say they're an accurate representation of what we've seen. So out of those 330 to 35 devices, we had 58% of them get smashed to the point where it's a hazard if the student were to continue using it. Either they do not work or they could hurt themselves on broken glass or something, and the device is immediately surplused. 29% were minor damage. This is a small crack in the corner of a screen that's not really in the area you touch or anything like that. When we have those devices, depending on the student, we evaluate it. If it's not a hazard, the student can remain using that same device, and then we'll surplus it out and transition it to a newer device at the next school year. But if a student barely cracks one and it's not a danger, then we'll let them finish the school year on it instead of getting them a new one. 13% reported lost and stolen. So that's a number I would really like to see drop. Ideally, it would be 0, but reality is what it is. Some of these, we're giving a lot of devices out to a lot of kids.
That's 13% of the 5%?
13% of the 5%, correct. So a total of 43 devices out of the 335. And we do have tracking abilities on them, but if they really do lose them, they have to be on and connected to the internet to be able to track them. So if anyone ever tries to use them, we'll be able to track it and geolocate it. And we've had success a couple of times with some that were stolen out of a Natchitoches Central with a break-in, where we were able to actually track where they went to when they were turned on and get law enforcement over there and get them back. But a lot of them that do get lost or stolen, if the battery dies and no one ever turns it on, can't track it. So we accept that as part of the reality of giving expensive things to kids. Some of them are going to break. Obsolete devices? Okay. No, this doesn't count the obsolete devices. We only went off the data that broke. So we had 335 devices that were broken. We have 3,500 that we are surplusing, and that's because they're going into year 3 or ending year 3 of their life cycle, and we're getting them out before they become issues. So later in the year, I'll actually be coming to the board with a ledger of probably 30 pages worth of serial numbers that you can go through at your leisure, that we will ask for permission to go out for bids and accept the highest bid on the whole lot. And we do have a lot of interest from a lot of companies in that lot. And basically what they do is they refurbish them and put them out to developing countries, or recycle them if they're bad enough for the scrap. But that'll be a source of revenue that ideally moving forward we use to fund our Apple technician position after ESSER quits funding that position. That's what we'd like to see, is that when we surplus these, we can get the maximum dollar for it by going through all the effort of organizing these old devices. We can actually become self-funding based on what is obsolete. And that kind of, okay, so I misspoke. 3,176 are currently in queue. So far, we've completed 47% of that replacement. And yeah, in total, we purchased 3,570. That was all covered under ECF. And just yesterday, we were notified that we received an additional $800,000 in ECF funding. So that will completely fund all iPad needs through 2024.
Mr. Kozad, what about the cases? Generally a good survivability rate or what?
In 100% honesty, no. The cases have the lifespan of 3 years, 4 years. They get damaged, but they don't break. The newer ones, we had the old ones with mechanical keyboards, kind of similar to a laptop. The cases that you guys have that have the membrane keyboard, they survive water damage. The keys don't pop off. They last the 3 or 4 years. But what we notice is that by the time we're surplusing devices, those cases are so shredded and just normal wear and tear. The cases we very much consider a supply item, and they are there to protect the inventory. At the end of the inventory, we don't want to redistribute those cases. So every device we buy, and that's included in all the ECF funding, that counts the cost of a case.
Okay,
but
thanks.
Cases are trash. They do not have any really viable, recyclable value after they've been used. It's mostly plastic. Any other questions?
Where are we with the technology building?
Actually, exciting. Tomorrow, Mr. Wascom and I have a meeting with the engineers. I think we're going to be looking at electrical and data layout. So we're at the point where they've at least got the building built in mind, that we can get to where things need to be. We're really, really hoping that maybe in the next month or two, we'll be able to advertise for bids, and then hopefully I would love to see, I mean, I don't know if it's realistic, but I would love to see something by September or October come back to y'all and say, October maybe. I think I'm going to be gone for September. Let's go with October.
So what's our time frame for, because I know that's done through grant, right?
It's done through the ESSER funds, so we have until the end of 2024 to complete it. The architects thus far have been very much, we're going to be fine. And then there's also discussion that ESSER funds could get, the deadline for spending them is going to get extended. But I don't think we're even in a position where we have to wait on that or hope for that. I think we're still on track according to their timeline.
And specifically, the first thing, if they do extend ESSER, the first thing they would extend ESSER for would be capital projects.
Yep.
So.
Yep. What are we still, hoping for late 2023 would be the earliest reasonable completion date.
Well, we appreciate all of your hard work, and thank you for that information.
You got it.
By the way, Madam President, is there any way we can start hearing some reports from the federal programs and from desk department?
So, sorry. Would y'all like those, it might be a little superfluous to do it every month, but we had talked about.
Every now and then.
Maybe
I was
quarterly?
because we were talking about doing quarterly reports for the, we had talked to y'all about the academic side. So if we could do federal programs, desks, and academics on those quarterly, I think.
Absolutely.
Okay. I will talk to those folks who I'm staring at right now.
Yeah, since they're here anyway, you know.
And they look excited.
Oh, they've been begging for this for a while, so.
Okay, moving along to the Finance Facility Service and Insurance Report, Mr. Dancy.
Items 7A and 7B, we have no advertisement for bid or no appropriate action on bids.
But
Items,
on that, Russ, I will have one.
Oh, you
We
will have one
opened
for
today at
Thursday?
2 for the
Oh.
athletic bid was open today at 2. So it will be on Thursday's
Thursday,
meeting
okay.
to approve.
okay. Item 7C, new salary schedule updates.
Okay. The governor passed a $1,500 increase to all certified teachers and $750 to, and that's happened 5 days ago. Plus there's some picayunish stuff that I needed to clean up. Like I did not know a counselor was not necessarily, and not always, not a certified teacher, due to my lack of knowledge. So we had to clarify, if you go to that page right there at the bottom, if it's in yellow, at the bottom of that page right there, that just kind of lists all the people that are on that chart. Obviously, all the certified teachers are on the teacher salary schedule, but all these the people here.
There's one other item that I'd like to bring up, and I bring it up specifically because I'm very proud of the fact that this came from an employee coming to us, and I won't mention her name because she may not want the notoriety, but she mentioned a deficiency in, I think, our schedule, which is for secretaries. Specifically, she said many of us have post-secondary degrees. Could we get an extra 2-year step for associate's degree, 4 years for college degree? And after talking about it with the team, it was a very reasonable, practical thing, and so that is also reflected in there. And that came from an employee of the district.
Because since y'all adopted it, we went through how to implement it, and we realized certain things were left out. One of the biggest things was this page we added. This page just kind of says that of the previous page, the professional and non-administrative page, that seemed to be confusing. So we broke down, okay, custodian 9-month is column A, custodian 12-month is column B. See, to me, it seemed natural to think about it, but actually nobody else understood it, so I had to clarify it. So I will accept responsibility, but I will tell you this has been very helpful so people understand basically where things are, okay? Tells you where the business department is, the IT, everybody in there. Now, something was brought up the earlier today. See the food service specialist warehouseman? It's D. That's the 12-month person. The 9-month one is on the food service warehouse location. So anyhow, all these things had to be clarified, and this hopefully did. Now, I guarantee you I probably have left out some things, but as we go along.
But I would like to mention that. So this process, this was the big shift.
Yes.
We want to, and I've said this numerous times to employees, and I've said this to y'all, we want to review this probably around, I'm thinking February, March of every year.
Every year.
There will be no changes to this coming from us during this fiscal year because our new fiscal year starts July 1. We would make any changes in months prior to the fiscal change every year. And so, when people come to us through the year, we will take notes, we will take it under advisement, and then we'll bring those probably to a committee type session where we look at those and bring those to y'all for approval for every fiscal year coming up. This will be an annual process.
Yes. Okay, so this is locked July 1. So all these tables have been updated was $750 for staff and $1,500 for all certified positions. This entire table. And so I'm asking y'all, but we didn't change anything. We just added other than what's in yellow, all we did was change the governor's additional pay that he will be sending through us through more MFP. This is one of the highly updated ones. I realized that we'd had a counselor 10.5 months that we did not put on this list. So for high schools, so we had to accommodate that. It wasn't on the other salary schedule either, but we have now gotten all this taken care of.
And we need to vote on that schedule.
We will need to vote on this, yes, just to adopt it. It's basically an
Adopt it.
update to the previous based on the governor's changes and some minor stuff that, like there are some positions on the very last page. Let's see, this is it. There are the ones hourly positions that are in yellow. I didn't even know that they were supposed to be on this page, and we finally got all this clarified. This is once again going through everything with the business department and several other people from other departments. This finally, I don't think it's going to be, there's going to be, I guarantee you, as we do implementation next month, I guarantee you there's going to be some things we left out, but we'll just have to deal with that as they come up. But I'm still proud of this work we've done here.
Okay, item 7D, Rapides Foundation Healthy Behavior School District Partnership Grant. And I think that's one of the grants that you were talking about. Was that not right?
This one's from Miss Ingram. She said she was, she apologized she couldn't be here, but
Okay.
this is basically just renewal.
Yeah, this is a separate one from that. This is one we have year to year. The one I was speaking of is in excess of this.
Yeah, this is a Healthy Behaviors, $53,300 over 12 months.
Yeah,
Beginning July 1st.
deals with things like healthy eating, exercising, trying to discourage vaping and things of that nature.
Okay. Item 7E is the Rapides Foundation Youth Volunteer School District Grant. That's Ms. Ingram's also. And this one is $6,700 over 12 months beginning July 1st, 2022. Item 7F is MOU with Bossier Parish Community College.
Yes, sir. So this is actually Ms. Pinckney. Ms. Pinckney's here if y'all have any questions, but this is basically they are now officially becoming BIPSI effective July 1. So we had an MOU with CLTCC, but now we need to affect that practically the same MOU with BIPSI.
Item 7G, 2022-23 Rapides Effective School Grants, and that's yeah, for Ms. Rachel.
So that's 142,000, and that
Over 12 months, right?
yeah, and that helps fuel different. I think we've used that in previous years for bringing in curriculum consultants like School Kit and things of that nature, and I think we're using them for some of our NIET endeavors moving forward.
And the other one is, it's just acceptance. That's just a paperwork resolution. And item 7H, leasing agreement to Goldana Communication System.
Okay, Mr. Lee and Mr. Stanley, if y'all would too help me on this here on the tower situation. We have an existing tower there located on the campus of Goldana that has just really basically changed hands from Unity Fiber to now AT&T or Louisiana Cellular has that tower. They're interested in a lease on this tower to where they can put a communication tower there for cell phone signal. You have in your package a copy of the lease agreement. It's a 9 or 10 page that you are welcome to read over, but I will be asking for your support Thursday night to support this and move this forward. That area out there is where they're wanting to make this cell tower is kind of a dead area. It would also interlap over the existing towers at Creston, Rehama, Chestnut, Ashland, and other things. And it's only 190 foot tall, but this could be a temporary tower, or it could grow into be a much taller tower coming at a later time. So I've asked Mr. Stanley to look over the lease agreement, and Mr. Lee too has looked over it to see if they find anything wrong with that. So I'll leave it to you all to comment on what your findings were on that.
Well, first of all, this tower is ours to tear down if we don't release it. So I'd really like to not do that. I would like to say that it used to be the microwave tower for internet. Because of E-rate establishing a fiber to our school there, and that's all been disconnected now, the tower is essentially useless to us otherwise. And then we'd be responsible for route tape. So being able to retask this tower for this purpose is really important. And also for the community and for us. We don't have to tear it down.
And this,
So,
this
Joe?
lease term is 15 years, so that would.
No.
Okay. So it's $100 a year.
Do what?
It's $100 a year.
That's
It's been revised, the lease itself that was originally proposed to include some provisions that are friendly to us. It requires them to name us as an additionally insured on their policy. It also includes that as of termination time, any cost to remove the structure is going to be on the party who is the lessee, not us. So we won't get into that situation. That'll be on them. And of course, any issues associated with liability, they have to indemnify and hold us harmless. So all these provisions are in there that we want to make sure that we're protected, so we don't have any liability and that we don't have any issues at the termination of the lease in terms of who would be responsible for the removal of the structure, because that can be quite expensive.
You've been in touch with the company that is interested in this, and y'all.
I have.
I know numerous of times and all. So you don't see any reason why we could not move forward on this and vote on this Thursday night?
No, I recommend it fully, and again, as you noted, without this and without this agreement, then the service would terminate, and those people out in that area that are underserved right now in terms of having access to the internet, they would go without. So this is almost a necessity.
I appreciate your help and work on that.
My pleasure.
Mr. Lee.
Thank
Mr. Stamey, that's weather and lightning strikes also?
Pardon me?
Weather and lightning strikes
Oh,
also?
yeah, they're responsible for all aspects of the tower.
Good deal.
And that is their nickel, not ours.
I will also.
The only issue that we could ever have come up with, and we're not aware of any because it's a school, actually, of course, it's been in operation there. In the event there was some environmental issue, technically that would be our obligation to resolve that, but we don't have that at that location.
I'd also like to add to, the same company is looking at some other sites. They're looking at another site that the school board really didn't know they owned, 2-acre spot down close to the lake somewhere that they're looking at. And so they may be looking all over the parish for some other sites to locate cell towers and.
Yeah, this gentleman that we've been dealing with, Mr. Hopkins, seems like a straight
He
shooter
is.
and
He's a
someone
very
who's,
straightforward man.
you know, trying to do his fair share to be honorable with regard to these projects.
Well, it will honestly feel good to be able to get on your cell phone, possibly, without having to drive to the cemetery. And possibly one day even have internet service.
It's not the optimum place to go study for
Well, now, you
your
go to the
homework.
graveyard at night, and you'll see cars lined up there, and that's what they're doing, they're on their cell phone.
It's interesting.
Yes, sir. So thank you again for your help and
My
all of
pleasure.
that, and I will ask the board for their support Thursday night on this issue.
Thank you,
Madam
Mr.
President,
Barr.
that completes finance.
Thank you, Mr. Danzy.
Well, they actually changed it's Anacoco Towers.
Anacoco Towers, yeah.
they're going by.
This is the name they're going by? Well, that's changed since I seen it.
Believe it or not, that's their primary location in the region is in Anacoco.
To me, $100 a year, that's mighty cheap. Just $100 a year. But $100 a year, that's cheap.
They're not requiring us to pay them any franchise. I mean, there's nothing that we're having to do to pay out.
Yeah.
So it's a benefit, the benefit probably
Is for the
exceeds
community.
the cost.
Well, not only that too, if in the event they don't use it, like Mr. Lee said, to take this tower down would cost the school system somewhere between $70,000 and $80,000 that we would not have to pay. They would have to take it down. And
No matter what agreements we're in before, it's clear that it's their obligation.
it's their obligation to dispose of it.
Okay, thank you very much. Executive report, Beverly Broadway.
Item 9A, quarantine policy. Oh, Item 9A, quarantine policy, and Dr. Eloy?
Yes, ma'am. Sorry, I didn't put my name next to that. Ms. Kanika already slapped my hand. So we know that COVID obviously has overall decreased, but here recently there has been a statewide increase, though if you look at Natchitoches Parish, we're kind of staying the same. So also at the same time, there are school districts, several school districts around the state who have taken what we call colloquially the parent choice option. I have talked to our lawyers. The parent choice option, there are still issues with liability. If you recall, whenever we started this whole thing, if we wore masks, if we did all the things that we opted into, then we were free from liability. That basically was part of the governor's emergency declaration. That emergency declaration is no longer there, but because we've set the precedent of following CDC guidance at all points, there could be liability if we were to stop doing that. So it is it's at my advice and the advice of our lawyers that we do not follow suit with some parishes, not a lot of parishes, but some parishes around us that have done the parent choice option. What I am proposing is something that is in current CDC guidance, but we have not yet utilized. So what we have not yet utilized, we have option 1, which is what we are currently utilizing, which follows CDC LDH guidelines and quarantine at home for 5 days. You remember that was originally 10 days. It went down to 5 days. Return to school on day 6, symptom-free, assuming you're symptom-free without the aid of medication. Then you have to wear a mask until day 10, and it's recommended that you don't go out in public or other than a physician's office during the quarantine. That's what we've been doing probably for the past 6 months. It works well, but I will tell you it has been difficult it was at times difficult to staff when we had outbreaks. It was also difficult to explain to parents and students, and it has only gotten more difficult as we proceed in close to the 3rd year of this pandemic. So, option 2, I would like you to consider. It is from the CDC. This is not some policy we dreamed up. This is not a policy that we got from another parish. This is still CDC guidance. Option 2, the test to stay option. Schools may follow CDC's quarantine guidance above, option 1, which is still considered the safest option, or may implement a test to stay strategy for students and staff who are not fully vaccinated so that they remain in school. In this option, students and staff do not need to quarantine at home so they've been exposed, but if they remain asymptomatic, no symptoms, no runny nose, none of this stuff, and they mask through day 10. So as soon as they're exposed, they mask, following their last point of close contact with a positive case, and, again, so 3 major things. They have to remain symptomatic, they have to mask the whole time, and they have to test negative for COVID-19 twice during the 0 to 5 days following their close contact. That does not have to be a doctor's test. That can be one of the at-home tests. That it just can't be back-to-back days. It has to be like on day 2 and day 4 or day 1 and day 3. If a student tests positive, then obviously they would go into isolation because remember, isolation is not quarantine. What this does is it gives a safe option. The other reason so besides this being CDC guidance, which they don't just willy-nilly throw this out there, number 1, it's CDC guidance. Number 2, I can tell you, and Ms. Page can tell you from our experience when we were in Delta, when we were in Omicron, all these things, the vast majority, I would say somewhere in the 90% range of students that we have quarantined have never become symptomatic or shown traces of COVID-19. So I can tell you, I don't believe this is shifting gears. As I've told y'all, I'm a believer in all this. To me, it's evident. I'm not a denier in any of this, but I do feel as we've gone throughout this situation, this pandemic, we have evolved in how we deal with it. I feel as though this is the most recent evolution of this, that we can do this test to stay option only because I believe we can do it responsibly because of the high numbers of students who do quarantine who never come up positive. And so I just would ask you to consider this. If you have any questions, I can answer them now if things come up over the next few days. I can answer those as well.
All right. That concludes the executive report. Oh,
Yes, ma'am. From day zero, the only way they opt into this, and you can see we actually get the parents to sign off on this, they have to have them tested twice during that 0 to 5 days. If they refuse to test, then they have to quarantine.
And it accomplishes the goals to keep children in school.
Correct. Keeps kids in seats.
Okay, if there are no other questions or business to come before the board, we are adjourned from this committee meeting.